was rewatch yesterday's, though. It's because the podcast is being taped, and you can catch that at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. wherever you get your podcasts. It doesn't matter. It's
literally wherever.
Literally everywhere. Let's get to pairs trading. That's cool because you've got Bitcoin and some of these miners also moving.
We did miss AMC a little bit.
We mentioned it's moving. I know it's moving, but hey, there's plenty to trade today for some wins. But let's get on over how to trade with Refrain.
What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to How to Trade, formerly known as the Midday Show. That is your girl, Ladera. I'm Sharif, and today we're talking about earnings pair trading. We'll get into a little bit more about that. Right now, though, I'm in a small capper on INBS trying to look for this key area of support over here. Former area of resistance at that 6.5, 640. Look to get long on the curl. Already took a little bit of profit there through the break of 680. Looking for that move into 670. The stop out is going to be the break, the key break of 620. So waiting for that level to come in. We'll see how this one manifests, but it's already up 130 odd percent on the day. Looking to take 7. Had initial trouble with 7, doing a bit of a double top and then coming back down. Reason I got into this, simple. It is a retracement on a strong name. I don't chase these guys. I look to get in on dips, and this was my dip entry. But we are going to limit the exposure to the downside because it's awfully volatile. The spread a little wide for a $6 name at the moment, about 4 to 5 pennies, sometimes a little bit wider. So we're going to see what this one does. The other name that I had on the day was SMCI. Look to take this one north with NVIDIA because this one was moving awfully strong in the morning. We took a 4-banger on this one, then had to actually get out of this because, well, it started coming back down below my entry. Looking for another area of support around 732. We'll see how this one does. All right, I'll send it to you and then I'll start the lesson.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, congrats on those INBS and SMCI trades. That INBS I had my eye on all morning. Like, that one was moving with a viciousness, and when it got started, it would not get stopping. That didn't, it worked better in my head. But no, I'm really happy to be here. Very excited to talk some trades with everyone here. I'm currently just in IWM. I like this because we have this, I mean, slightly lower highs too, but more or less this flattish top. Lower lows though, the one thing that makes me nervous is the flat top element, but the lower lows, and even if you zoom in, okay, now it's made a higher high a little bit. But basically the goal here is I want to get out. If we do eclipse, I'm going to be watching for that 197.60 area. Depending on how we do here, I added a little bit to this position because I want to have enough room to piece it out. Should we get to the area I like, I want to take some out at that 197 for sure because
looking for earnings is a strategy that involves 2 correlated stocks. And the idea here is to capitalize on the relative performance changes during earnings season, okay? So pairs trading, essentially, at its core, it takes advantage of the divergence or convergence of stock prices within a sector or industry, providing a market neutral approach to trading. So we'll get more into the actual practical aspects of it. So what you're doing here is you're simultaneously taking a long position on a stock and a short position on another related stock. The idea is to profit from the from the relative outperformance or underperformance of one stock compared to the other. So at its core, you're taking a long position on a stock and a short position on another stock, another related stock, with the idea being to profit from the relative outperformance or underperformance of one stock compared to the other. So in the context of earnings, because that's what we're doing here, traders identify 2 stocks within the same sector or industry that are expected to be influenced by similar market conditions. And I just have to interrupt here because INBS did break through $7. So this is the second time we've been up here. Not sure if we stay above 7. We've had a lot of trouble staying above $7, and it looks like we're having more trouble now. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to look to de-risk at the $0.25 area. I'm going to sit here around 24s in case there is a resistance at 25s. If it breaks 620, that's the end of the trade. It is having trouble with $7 here. Again, I'm not surprised seeing it is above 140%, but we may get the benefit of this one up through the $0.25. If I get the fill, I'll let you know. Okay, so in the context of earnings, traders identify 2 stocks within the same sector or industry to be influenced by similar market conditions. Now, within pairs trading, there are 2 related concepts called correlation and co-integration. We need to, just really have a rudimentary understanding of what those are. So successful pairs trading, mind you, relies on the correlation or co-integration between two stocks, okay? Correlation measures the degree to which the price of two assets move together. So together. While co-integration, sorry, I just have to manage IMBS. While co-integration assesses the long-term relationship between their price movements. And that's going to come in to factor in a little bit later, okay? Pairs with high correlation, not co-integration, but pairs with high correlation are more likely to revert to their historical relationship, providing potential trading opportunities. Questions or comments, Adara?
Yeah, so I think today maybe one example in the wild would maybe be something to keep an eye on with CleanSpark. And I'm actually going to pull up CleanSpark so we can talk about that. So I say that because that's an earnings name, but also this will generally move in tandem with the names like these Bitcoin related names, right? So all of these, we've got the Maras, the Coinbase of the world generally moving together. So we usually know when something's up when one of them moves alone or separately, right? So I think this might be a cool example, just keeping an eye on the concept of CleanSpark that does have its earnings and how this will generally, some of these names will move in generally in tandem with crypto. So I just wanted to point this out as potentially, and let's look at Mara as well. So to be fair too, the little bit of a difference is that Bitcoin is running it's generally just running right now with Bitcoin up in that 47,000 level. But I think, yeah, certainly I think it's an interesting thing to keep an eye on. And I think some other examples that you can maybe think about would be like, I guess lesser like Pepsi and Coke, right? So I would say, I think too, one thing I want to point out is the difference between like two companies that might be in similar spheres and two stocks that might be running together. Because as I said, that I realized that might be a difference. Like crypto stuff will generally run together, but Pepsi and Coke can be very similar companies. They're not always going to run together though.
Yeah. So we're going to identify pairs here, like Adara was saying, just to build on what she was saying there. So you're going to conduct thorough research to identify pairs of stocks within the same sector or industry that have historically exhibited strong correlation, okay? Analyze the historic price movements for them, financial performance, and business fundamentals to select the pairs to ensure a sound basis for the trade. So here's what we're going to break it down into steps. So step one, super simple. Find similar pairs, okay? So identify companies within the same sector or industry. All right, within step 1B, check historical correlation, and you can quantify the correlation. So usually you want anything above 0.7 to about 1, and analyze the fundamentals. Look at the financials, look at the growth potential. Step 2, identify the spread. Compare current price ratios like PE, EBITDA, etc. Okay? Look for deviations from their historical trading range, and the more significant the deviation, the larger the potential profit. So that's what you're looking for there. Step 3, earnings impact. Okay? Pay close attention to upcoming earnings announcements for both companies, the two that you've selected from within the same sector or industry. And then anticipate the potential impact on each stock based on the analyst's expectations and past performance. I've went through this umpteen times amount this week about how you can look and see what analysts are predicting, and then prioritize pairs likely to react differently to earnings surprises. So that's step 3. Step 4, executing the trade. Buy the laggard. So you're going to buy the one that's lagging, the undervalued company before earnings, and you're going to short sell the leader, the overvalued company, simultaneously, okay? And you're going to manage risk, obviously, here by setting stop losses on both the orders. Make sure stops are involved here at every step. And then step 5 is monitoring and then closing the position. Close the trade when the spread reverts to its normal range. I'm talking about the PE or EBITDA or whatever you've used, regardless of the market direction, and monitor closely during earnings announcements for potential adjustments, as you know, the earnings call may bring a new variable and have the stock moving a certain way. Okay, so risk management here, very important as well. We talked about this. Equalizing dollar amounts. You're going to have to maintain a market neutral position, equalizing the dollar amounts invested in the long and short position. Make sure you're doing that. This helps ensure the trade's success and depends on the relative performance of the two stocks rather than the overall market. I have to digress here as we are moving up again on INBS. I got filled here at the $0.25. Let's see if we get something around the $0.50. I'm going to sit at 49s, okay? It looks like I'm going to get filled here because I already passed. So we're already up, moving aggressively, almost $1 in the money on here on INBS, 160%. Make sure you're using proper risk management with this one because this could absolutely tank at a moment's notice. It has a headline today. There is a reason why it's moving, but it is a low float name. Right now, it's 120,000 shares float. That is minuscule and very prone to immediate correction. 120,000 share float. Here comes $8. We're going to sit here at 94s or so. If we get filled, that'd be great. Otherwise, we'll stop out, break even, but INBS continuing to head to the high side.
Yeah, also one thing with INBS too is this one did a reverse split on January 25th. So just another little piece of note there for that, which I know from Small Cap Recap. Also, one thing too, I have an example actually here, courtesy of Investopedia, basically saying one potential profit of a pair trade strategy is if you have stock A and stock B, they have a really high correlation and they deviate from their historical trending correlation. So now they have a lower correlation. What you're going to do, as Sharif was saying, is you're going to go long the underperforming stocks like stock B, let's say Pepsi and Coke, I don't know, just an example here. You're going to go long Pepsi if it's underperforming. Today it is. And then imagine Coke was performing well today, which is based on what I saw in the stock heat map, it's not. But if Coke was performing well, then you'd go short Coke. And then the idea that they're going to eventually come back to each other, to come back to form a happy union, you're going to go long one, short the other, and eventually they're going to converge and you're going to profit off of that convergence. So that's kind of the general essence of the strategy. I think it's a really interesting one. And what's interesting, too, I found, is you can trade these regardless, but they're going to be a little extra potent during earnings, as Sharif illustrated there, because you do have that extra little burst because of the fact that you do have earnings. It's going to be more volatile. It's going to be more in play. And these stocks do tend to react a little bit wildly to earnings. So I think it's a good example of how to use the strategy.
Yeah, sound advice there, Dare. All right, so I'm just going to hold this position here. I have nothing more to add or remove. I've got one last out on this, so I'm going to let this one run. Let's see if it gets into $9. If it does, fantastic. We'll see what we get there. But INBS, the #1 stock on the day right now on my scanner, up almost 200%. So again, if you're wondering why I got into this or what the thinking here was for the level. So clearly this was a bit of a top here at 640, 650. We then retraced back near that $5 area. And then we popped up again, giving me an opportunity here to get in on a dip. And that's exactly what I did. I looked for former area of resistance to act as support. And as soon as I saw this bottoming tail candle over here, I knew that this was the area where I want to get in, and then we de-risked on the way, and we're on our way to $9 here. It looks like we're going to pass 850. Let's see if we make it up to 200%. Yesterday, we had 4 or 5 names that were triple digits above $1. The day prior to that, we had that holo stock that kind of started everything, and that's basically what this is running off here because, well, we're talking about 764,000 in sales, which is an absolute joke for a company that now apparently is up 200%, $12 million market cap. So we'll see. Obviously, this is more technically based than fundamentally based, which is normal for some of these small cap cappers. With respect to some of these market moves, I don't know what the hell Apple just did there, but Apple just popped up about almost $2 off $1 off that 188 area, showing up on my chart here, awfully aggressive for this Apple move. I have no idea what this is from. I'm looking at my blotter. I don't see anything to justify this move right now on AAPL, but it is coming into that resistance level on pivots at 189.50. So if you are long Apple, maybe look to de-risk a little bit over here. We are still within yesterday's price range, so it's an inside day so far. We're below the low and above the high on AAPL, but it has kind of been dead money on the day, only up 0.7. The rocket ship, though, has been softy, has been Amazon, has been NVIDIA, goes without saying, even Google getting in on the action here. Tesla was strong to start the day, but it is now retracing back into that kind of pre-market top that we had at 191.25. We'll see what we get from these guys.
Yeah, it's been quite the day here. I am still short the IWM. I got out though some of the position just because we got a little bit above that 197.60 area, which is what I was watching. Generally, we held it pretty well. I did add some a little bit as well before I took some out, just around that 197.60 because we were tracing a little bit. I'm trying to get the first part of this position out, or I guess the part that I didn't already de-risk at that 197.20 area because that was some interesting chop and churn earlier. Should we get there, I'm taking some out there. But yeah, really just trying to. This movement didn't quite go as I thought it would, but we still haven't made a decisive higher high, so I'm comfortable being in this for the time being. And then I did notice too, as much as we were kind of trying to get above that 197.60, we couldn't really do so with the swiftness or with the kind of energy that I was looking for. I'm gonna take out part of this now as we get to that 197. 40-ish area, so we'll see if this gets filled. But yeah, really that's the main thing I've kind of looked at right now. Also, NVIDIA looking interesting to me over here. Someone was saying, would NVIDIA and SMCI be considered pairs? And I mean, I think, Sharif did point out you can do that. Like you can trade if one is moving, generally some of the other ones will be moving. Not all the chips will move in tandem that way, mind you, but certainly that is somewhat the case. I think Sharif did demonstrate that earlier with that SMCI trade. NVIDIA holding the 716 is actually kind of interesting to me. I would definitely just range this to 717 because this candle scares the behoozits out of me at 717. We get to 717, we ride up to 718, and then we have the top and tail candle. As I've been speaking, not SMCI, NVIDIA has run up basically $1. So if you're involved in this NVIDIA long, I know Sean was NVIDIA earlier. Cool $10 winner on that one. So congrats to him. George Washington was dancing a lot in the dollar club, I am sure. But yeah, mainly just dealing with IWM as of right now. Also Tesla falling off a cliff a little bit in a way that's interesting to me. It's not really as much of a range play as I would have liked it to be. Also go IWM, keep falling. But I think this kind of, we had a bit of a double top. We fell lower, consolidated, fell even lower. I want to see what we do at this 191 area because that was certainly an area of consolidation earlier. Right now, the main goal is just dealing with my IWM, see if we can have an we don't want to get IW murdered in this trade. It's a Friday. The puns are not, flowing as they could be. How is INBS going?
So INBS is halted to the upside now at $10.27. We're all out of this one at $8 2/3. So we make $2 at the top there. But, obviously it's going to go. You're never going to catch the tops. You're never going to get the bottom unless you're just lucky or, really good, really skilled once in a while. Anyway, monster move here on INBS. We were talking about this one, 150%. Now it's 256% to the upside. Good look here. We'll see if this one comes back down to test a key level of resistance, but we really are running away from any resistance at this point. The last area here that I see that could work as a dip is 716. So nothing for me to do on this one other than just continue to look at it. We did get into 18,000 on the future, 18,007. That is now rejecting. We're coming back down. Apple continues to move up, and I still don't have a reason why Apple is moving. This doesn't look like a technical break to me. This is clearly something related to a news item of which I don't know what it is because I don't have it on my news blotter, and Brendo isn't at the big desk. So we'll have to wait to find out what exactly is happening here. And we can just report it to you as it happens, but clearly something afoot with Apple at the moment as it looks to come into that 190 area. But this area over here at 18,000 is going to be, in focus for me into the afternoon. I want to see what we do here. Do we claim it and hold above it, or do we do the wick dance from below 18,000? That's exactly what we're doing right now as we wicked up and then rejected immediately. I mean, I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility that we come into 18,000 and reject it and maybe claim it sometime next week. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, good move here on the future at 18,000, being propelled by a lot of these mega caps that are all green on the day. No mega caps red on my chart today. So we'll see what happens here. Waiting for INBS to open up. Otherwise, I don't have any trades.
Yeah, I mean, we're just trying to extricate ourselves from IWM, which we did do successfully. Pretty happy with this trade. A lot of it was a waiting game. It required a lot of patience because, so much patience. But yeah, I think I'm happy with this. I am a little sad I de-risked some of it where I did, but you know what? Like we were getting a little bit dicey, so I had to do what I had to do. It is what it is. I am generally happy, although I know we were talking about, how some of those platitudes, like it is what it is, are not always the most helpful or indicative of things. In this case, it was what it was. And like I said, risk management, not always going to be exciting or glamorous or frilly, but it does help you get through the day, and that's why I take up part of the position there. Other than that, I have to say I am pleased as punch here. Kanye East, fantabulous name, asking when INBS is going to reopen. Not sure, but you can use the NASDAQ Halts website, as Sharif was explaining to me, so thanks as always for that, much appreciated there. Jay Lee saying, on his question, why does the SEC allow super small share size, INBS, et cetera, to exist? It's like they're complicit with creating a musical chairs game, AKA Ponzi. Honestly, I'm really not sure. I don't know as much as I'd like to about these small caps and these kind of smaller share float type situations. It's something I'd like to look more into. I don't really have an answer for that, but who will know? But Odyssey Fights, which is also a great name. Do you think PLTR will rally today? And a little smiley with all the teeth out. Yeah, I'll check for you. I like that little smiley face. I like that emoji. I will always read out the emojis. I do appreciate them. PLTR. Okay. Will it rally today? So I'm just pausing here because we're very much down on the day right now. However, Palantir has been a beast as of late. Sean has really talked you through all these trades. I will say I'd like to see what we do with that 23.95 area, because that was where we had that chop and turn earlier, and some really interesting candles. We had this candle, which can sometimes be bullish, where you do have that hammer candle. You've got the pinion of the hammer, or whatever they call that, the gavel part. Then you have this the handle of the hammer, and then we actually keep going short. So this didn't really end up coming to fruition the way you would think it would be. You have the buyers overwhelming sellers, then we keep falling. However, then we get another really bamboozling candle. Shout out to Sharif for that. We get this not really a top and tail candle, because the body is certainly much longer, but we get this little candle to the downside, a little bit of selling, mostly buying. Sellers end up winning out. Now we get this candle trying to reclaim. Basically, to make a really long story short, lots of bamboozling candles here on Palantir. A little bit harder for me to tell on the day, but if you get past that earlier area of chop and churn where the bamboozling candles really kicked off, I think that would be interesting. However, on the daily, I think levels of interest, that 2350 in terms of where we fall, because that was where we opened yesterday, and more or less where we closed on Tuesday. So should we continue to fall, I think that would be an area of interest. Mostly, though, for me, in terms, I can't say for sure if it'll rally, because I do not know, but we seem to be trying to reclaim this 24 pretty viciously. Should we actually reclaim 24 and then eclipse that 2435-ish area? I think that would be a nice look. Odyssey Fights. Right now, not in anything right now. NVIDIA still trying to call my name, but she's speaking a little bit more quietly. I need to take more time to listen to her. She is also making a bit of a stutter step to the downside, but I've learned my lesson from shorting NVIDIA when she's strong on the day. That's not something I'm going to do. Tesla, though, might be a bit more of an interesting short. Oh, I just pulled up NVIDIA again. Clearly, someone has NVIDIA on the brain. Tesla's more interesting to me. We are coming into that previous area of chop and turn around that 191. How are you doing over here?
It just opened up again. INBS through 11, high of day now, just a smidge above 11 at 11.12. It's fighting that 10.5 as we speak, trying to stay above the halt level. The halt level was $10.30. We're at $10.50. So let's keep an eye on that halt level. It did dip into 9 ever so briefly, held 9, and then popped right back up. So this one continuing to go, and this wouldn't be beyond the realm of possibility to hit 400-500%. The way it is squeezing, guys. If you're going to trade this, I don't want to keep saying this again. It's a 120,000 share float. You could absolutely get rinsed on this. Make sure that you've got stops that are sound, that are going to trigger, whether they're market orders or whether they have large spreads between the stop and the trigger. You need to make sure to account for risk here. It's a 120,000 share float that is minuscule, okay? The other issue here is Apple is putting in a bull flag with a flat top just south of 190. It's up 0.9% moving midday, and I have no idea why. Brendan doesn't see anything either, so we're not really sure why this is moving. We'll keep an eye on it. find out if there is anything that comes in on the blotter here, but awfully strong for a midday move to be unaccounted for. We are topping out on the future, so keep your eye on some of these mega cap names, because if we do reject 18,000, there is a good chance that we start curling back down, whether on Softy, whether on Apple, or what have you, Google, etc. Softy at that 420 area, I was told by somebody, so we'll have to see if that can take the $10 level there. On Microsoft, we have Google as well, up going into that 149. I think we encounter much more resistance near 150 on Google than we do want 149, but what do I know? We'll see. 718 on NVIDIA, not much to talk about there. We'll see what we get here. Amazon also rejecting the highs, putting in lower lows and lower highs. Bit of a possible bull flag here. We'll see if it holds up near resistance, or resistance level 2 on pivots at 172.5. It's been a good look for these small caps. It's been a good look for these large caps. Take your pick. They're both tradable. And we've traded both. So pleased if we can maybe participate in some more trades here, but they're going to have to come into my levels. What else we got here? Hey, Rosie, how are you? Apple going retro with foldable phones. Yeah, that's yesterday's headline, Rosie, but thank you for pointing that out. Rob EV, ARM, higher lows, higher highs since the liquidity gap. Let's have a look at ARM. So ARM is down 2.5%. I do see the higher lows and higher highs. You have a bit of an upward channel, but you have that 112 resistance. Let's chart a little bit on the side over here to see what the resistance levels were from yesterday. All right, so we're very much an inside day. The key level of resistance that I'll be looking for on ARM is yesterday's closing print. So this closing print's at $1.14. $114. We closed out there yesterday. We're not even close to that level yet. We're still south of 113 with the high being 112.5. So I'll be looking to see if we can get into 114. Perhaps that might be an interesting short as we may encounter resistance here. If we clear 114, the next level I'll be looking for is that 122 area, pardon me. That is the first crest there where we topped at 123 actually, sorry, not 122, 123 on ARM. Otherwise, you know, ARM is a hell of a name, but I think, you know, the best part of it is behind it, which was the last couple of days. So we'll keep an eye on this one. Possibly more to come. Apple now curling down, rejecting that 189.80 or thereabouts, coming back down to 189.50. We'll have to see if this one can maintain its strength and maybe make it up to that $10 level at 190. INBS coming back down. Happy I got out of this one, but, you know, wished I held a little bit more through the break of 10 and possibly 11, but we had to de-risk here. So we'll see.
Also, I just saw someone putting this headline in the chat. Mr. Weed, I love that name. Tesla to 2K is our bear case. Kathy Woods. Yeah, I have no comment on that. That's a lot. That is a lot. And I think, you know, given that Tesla's currently below 200, I think that's like more than 10x. But, you know, best of luck to Aunt Kathy. Also, I am in a Tesla long, but I'm not going to address that right now because we have a super chat. Not that I'm never going to address it. I want to clarify. It will be coming up in a second. But thank you so much to the Hayes Records for the $1.99 super chat. Check out Fig's daily chart, brethren. Love y'all with the gorilla emoji. Thank you as always for your support. I love the little gorilla emoji, just adding some flavor to the super chat. And thank you so much as always for your participation. Fig's daily chart is a look and a half. We have sort of this a skosh of a double bottom here at 524. Generally, though, the look on this is, I'm just going to say bearish because lower high, so we have 34, then we come to a lower high, 27. Lower high at 23, which is also interesting because look where we had a little bit of support earlier, a bit of a double bottom at 22, then we come, or 22, 23, then we have, that comes to be our high. So it's really a good example of support becoming into resistance, something I learned a lot from sitting here at the midday with Sharif. Then we get that again at 13, support becoming resistance, which I think really interesting level here for this chart. Then again, we have a little bit of a peak here at 10, come back to make another high at 10, touch that twice, bit of a double top. We fall to about this 550 area, another lower high at 9, just continuously lower highs, lower lows. Not much to say here other than oof, and I'm very sorry for figs. Then we kind of, in a more zoomed up look to see what we're doing more recently, we kind of fall down here to about January 17th, and we try to make a higher, we kind of make a little bit of a smaller high here, then we keep making a lower low. It'll be interesting to see what we do. We kind of tried to come into that 620 area, but we definitely had it swatted down. I think one of the issues for figs might be its volume. It is below 400,000 shares on the day right now, so this 5-minute chart is a little bit lackluster, but I did want to look at the daily because that was what you requested. Yeah, the Hayes records, I have to say, this chart looks a skosh sad, but the double bottom at 520 is not a bad look here at all. Let me look at, I'm going to pull up my Tesla chart though right now because that exists. Yeah, okay, so I'm long Tesla, and I have to say, my reason for this, I talked about it earlier. I was interested in what happened here at this 191-esque area because that was where we had that consolidation pre-market, right? So it actually, I watched it, we bounced off it pretty well. We fell a little bit below, but we recovered really nicely. I'm in this. I have my first profit taker or beak water or what have you set around that 190-160. Second one, I'm going to be interested just above that 192 because I like this chop and churn we had here earlier, the idea of support becoming resistance. Also, my other reason for 190-160, look where we had that earlier resistance. Then it comes into support. I like the whole support resistance idea because I'm a bit rangier and scalpier. I really like to take off pieces of the position where we do see previous support and resistance. So that's just really my thesis with the Tesla trade. If we have this decisive break below that 190.50 trough, I'm going to be watching out for that. And then that 190.20-ish area, those will be really my areas considering outs. That would be my my look here. Toro Loco, Sean and Adara speed talking tournament. I mean, well, I don't know. We'll see. I know I talk very quickly. I apologize for that. But yeah, I think one other thing too I want to look at here is going to be this. Someone asking me about a Google short, and that was Geethu Thomas. So let's look at Google short. I was considering Google long earlier when I saw on my and I'll pull up my 3-minute to explain why I was thinking that. Yeah, so I saw this this pop. We didn't get as high though as that 148.48. So I would agree, looks a bit short right now. I think I like the 5-minute chart better though as a short thesis because look at these candles. We have all of this buying and then the sellers end up overwhelming it 1, 2, 3, 4 times in a about what, like a 30-minute period. If we cross below that 90 MA, I'd be interested. My only issue though is because I am a bit range scalpier, levels are a bit trickier for this one for me. I would probably have to cross-reference other charts for my levels. However, I can tell you with certainty, I would be interested in taking profit at that 147.60 area because that's where we had a bit of chop and churn on our way to the upside. Neil saying, spit the Busta Rhymes verse from Look At Me Now. I wish I could. That is a fantastic verse. Everyone, like Lil Wayne rapping his fastest as well. But yeah, Busta killing it with that. I mean, Twista, sorry, another very speedy rapper that I could not emulate if I tried, but much respect to them. And yeah, wish I could. Bears vs. Bulls saying, LOL, Neil, me too. Hi, Sean.
So we're long AAPL at 61s. We're looking to take some out here in front of 80s. Took some out already at 70s. Looking for this to hold. The break, the out for me is going to be the break of 41 or 40, pardon me. And the reason for that is simple. This is where we kind of bounced off on that move down. That also happens to be resistance level 1 on pivots. This is like 1/5 of a position because we're catching it really extended. And there is no justification on my blotter for why this is moving. Still looking for something and I'm still not getting anything. So not really understanding why Apple's moving, but we're going to base it on technicals rather than on the catalyst here. So the break of this teal dotted line is going to be the end of the trade for me here on Apple, but we're going to look to profit at every 10-penny area and possibly move through 190. We've been below 190 for quite some time now. We had a perfunctory break back on the 7th, but the closing print was well below that 190 as we did retrace. Having trouble breaking through 60s, despite the fact that I got the print at 70. We'll see whether this is dead money at this level or whether we continue to ascend. this profit taker at 79 is not just because I'm taking it at random levels. It is the top end of this consolidation range, as you'll notice. So we'll see if we continue to put these higher lows in right now on Apple, looking for that move into 190. But it is a bit of a counter trend move because what we're seeing is lower highs and lower lows on the futures. We touched 18,007 and now we're back down into 17,900. Mid-70s. So the future is coming back down. If Apple does continue to ascend here, it is going to be a secular move, an unexplainable secular move, but a secular move nonetheless. We'll see if we hold up here at the future. This is the IB high, right? So that not even the IB high. Sorry, this is the spike here on their GDP revision. Sorry, CPI revision. This was when the CPI was revised downward, and we got a momentary spike at that level. Do we hold up at this level? That's going to be an interesting little determination here. But yeah, Apple now succumbing to some of the downward pressure on the market, coming back into 50s again, but still holding the teal dotted line, which is resistance level 1 on my charts. We'll have to see what Apple does at this level. Xi, Affirm broke day low. All right, let's have a look at Affirm. I haven't pulled that up today. So let's take this SMCI trade. We'll take INBS off. Actually, we're going to have to keep INBS on because it is still doing things. So. All right, Affirm. What do we have here on Affirm? All right, lower lows, lower highs. This is kind of these ones where I'm confused as to why Affirm is selling off. It was a beat on the top and bottom line above guidance. Perhaps maybe unrealistic expectations by some of the investors who were looking in, who were buying this up in anticipation of maybe an even bigger earnings blowout. We'll have to wait and see. Let's chart Affirm here on the side, see what we have. All right, so we're still an inside day. We haven't broken through yesterday's highs, nor have we broken down below yesterday's lows. So key area of support that I'll be looking at is that $40 area. That takes us after market there to about 435. We bottomed out at 40, and then we ended up closing at around 43, just sub 44, 43, high 70s. The spike this morning, at the bell took us into yesterday's high before earnings, which was around $49.75, $50 area. We did reject that area and we are on our way down. So it looks like we are playing these ranges, albeit $10 worth of range. This comes into 40, I'll be looking long. Otherwise, I don't have a trade on it. So keeping an eye on AAPL here, the only trade that I've got on at the moment. And I'll be keeping a close eye on INBS. If it comes in to a key level of support that I like, maybe we'll get long again. But yeah, don't want to give too much back on this name.
Yeah, one thing I thought was interesting too with regards to the Affirm earnings, I was reading this report from Jefferies, and what they said that was interesting, they raised their price target on Affirm, and they said the reason that they thought some people were a little disappointed with the guidance, including them, I guess, was because the earnings themselves were so strong. They were like, why is this guidance not stronger? Because the guidance was, the lower end of the range was much lower. I'm going to pull up the exact number here than what was expected for them. So I'm just I think based on what Jeffrey said, that seemed to be a little bit of what some of the issue was in terms of analysts being like, hey, why is your guidance there? So their guidance came in at, oh, never mind. Okay, so no, so the guidance was higher than expected too, but I guess I was going to give, there are a lot of companies, doing the watch list, but basically, their guidance was higher than expected, 530 million to 550 million versus the 487.75 million expected. So yeah, I don't know. Jeffries, I guess, was like it should have been higher. So that's kind of weird, but you're right, Sharif. It was like a beat across the board. It's always interesting to find out why things react the way they do, and that's why we were saying all week, and shout out to Sharif because he really did hammer this home. Like, make sure you know what analysts are expecting going into the earnings, and also make sure that you've read the whole report, because sometimes the market will really react to really weird aspects of the report. That Affirm report was not bad. The guidance was not bad. Like, it wasn't like PayPal guiding way below what was expected after an earnings beat. This is a little bit different. So, I mean, we'll have to see how the market continues to react. But yes, the Affirm sell-off a bit strange. It's always interesting to see, like, what's the whole report and what are analysts looking for going into the report, and then you can get a sense for earnings. So I want to talk about Tesla. I mean, I don't know if I want to talk about Tesla, but I will talk about Tesla. I was trying to take some profit here. We just avoided, we just eluded, I guess is the word I'd use, my area of profit taking for that Tesla long. The reason I added here, because I do want to explain this, is I said I was going to be watching what Tesla did at 190.60. We recovered and then we bounced. So I added to this position. I mean, we held it, sorry, and then we bounced a little bit. I'm just trying to take everything out at that 190, 120. Again, scalpulating, looking at the book. What were areas we held? We held that 190.20 area actually pretty well on the way up. And in case we can't go higher here, that's where I want to take out my profit. Being scalpy, or trying to be scalpy, and seeing what occurs there. Also, yeah, I don't have anything else on right now. IWM, a bit interesting to me still, because I've been trying to trade some of these ETFs as of late. IWM coming in, trying to break back above VWAP. Should we do that? I would maybe go long to about this 197.40 areas. That would be a pretty short position, but I want to wait for confirmation before I do that. IWM pretty strong on the day. I am happy with the short, but I would not short it again because it looks like that range we had earlier really fell out. But what's also interesting here is we're kind of bouncing off of that earlier area of support in the pre-market. So that's something I do not want to don't want to be hasty, shout out to the Spice Girls, but I don't want to necessarily doubt that movement either. Also, I saw someone earlier saying AM dying, so let's pay our pal AMD a quick visit here. A to the M to the D. Okay, yeah, I mean, dying is a strong word. We're still up on the day, but I would not say it's alive either. It's not a live MD either. So let's look here. I think this top and tail candle is pretty staggering here. This 174 area, all the way up to or 174.30, all the way up to 175. Then we sell the heck off. We bounce off, we ride the EMA, we bounce, another top and tail candle, and then we continue to fall to the downside. Lower highs, lower lows. I would actually maybe consider shorting this just into the ranges, right? So get involved, take some out when we hit the lower low. Probably would have to have a slightly larger position to get anything out of this. But if we continue to see lower highs and lower lows, I would maybe consider ranging this. And I might have to actually add this guy to my side charts so I can keep an eye on it, because I do not dislike this AMD range short at all, for sure here. Slab Paradise saying, I feel like the market can die here. Yeah, I think the market, I mean, I'll pull up the SPY because that one does have a spot on. I am always spying the SPY, because that one does have a spot on my side charts. And yeah, I mean, lower highs, lower lows, a little bit retracey, trying to make a bounce off of VWAP. It's not something I would get involved in. However, this hammer candle is not a bad look. Mainly though, just looking at IWM and Tesla. How is Apple going?
It's not bad. We've gotten 3 outs so far on Apple as it continues to stair step up to that 190 area. If it comes back down, we'll get out everything through the break of this trough here. The next profit taker sitting at 89s. We're at 86s right now. Let's see if we can make it up. Again, no news to account for this Apple midday advance, but there is a large share buyback program by Apple right now that they increased and they announced during their last earnings. So, we don't really need catalyst for them to buy their own stock. Maybe they feel that this is as low as it's going to be for a while. Also, it could be Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway picking more up. Who knows? Any number of reasons for this midday pop here, which so far is catalystless. And then we move up. Now we're in the mid 90s, so we're 30 plus some odd pennies in the money on this Apple trade, looking for that 190 break. Packing my patience on this one because Apple is definitely not that parabolic mover that Nvidia is, that Tesla is, even Meta, right? Apple is more of that slow, steady as you go type name. So we're going to put another profit taker there just in front of 190. So if we do pop up, we'll try to catch that. We'll try to catch that profit taker before the whole dollar level, which is where we will likely encounter more resistance rather than at 98s, 97s, 99s. You're more likely to find that, that area of resistance at the whole dollar level. So good move on Apple, good for the IB high, but for today's purposes, we're just going to go and call this an IB high, right? So we'll see whether this, can curl back up, because that's a nice hammer candle. I'm talking about this candle here on the future, on the NQ March contract. It's an aggressive move up. You get 4 red candles in a row and then a couple of green candles initiated by a hammer candle. So it looks good right now in the future, but we're going to have to print through that 18 and hold above 18,000 if we're really going to reap the rewards of this market move up. And there we go. We got the fill at 98s on Apple. So we're out of 65% of the position right now on Apple. We're going to let the remaining amount ride. And we're specifically going to wait for that 190 break. As we inch closer into 190, what becomes more apparent here on the book is the size sitting at the whole dollar level. And there's ample amount of size right now that we're going to have to actually run through in order to take that level out. So we'll have to back our patience, see what we get, keep an eye on the future to see if it's going to help support Apple's ascension. If not, we are going to get out the entire position through the break of this trough right here. All right, let's have a look back at INBS. This one continues to pump a bit, hints of a possible double top at 11.5, but let's not guess whether it's a double top. Let's actually allow it, guys. Let's allow it to manifest, and the way you're going to let that the double top manifest is you're going to wait for a 9 break. There's a key level of support here at 9 off that halt down move, and we definitely held up at 9. So if we end up rejecting that 11.5 for a second time, keep your eye on a 9 break for a possible double top here on INBS. But because this is 120,000 share float, I would not suggest you short this. You probably can't even find locates for this unless you're with Day Trade the World. Because I'm telling you right now, I'm looking at my IBKR and they don't have anything available for short right now. So I'm not saying IBKR is the number one for shorting or anything, but I don't have any shorts available on this. I'm sure Real Trading does. We'll have to wait and see whether that even comes into play because it's still putting in higher lows right now on INBS. So you're getting sequentially higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, but that 11.5 is a bit of a sore spot right now. Let's have a look at AAPL. Yeah, we're still in the mid-90s, nothing doing there. I probably should have a resting order on the other side of 190, and that's exactly what I'm going to do right now. We're going to take out micro size on the other side of 190. We're going to sit at lucky number 7s, 190.07, see if we can get a pop through there. So that's all I've got at the moment. We're going to continue to watch, see whether 18,000 breaks. I should tell you that OB will be on today to talk a little bit about his earnings trading strategy after the Real Deal with Neil. OB will be on about 12:10, 12:15, whenever Neil is done. So make sure for all my OB fans out there to join us there.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited to, we're all going to be excited to hang out with the Amazon. It's something I will definitely be, or Amazonian, sorry, he is not Amazon, he is not Jeff Bezos or Andy Jassy, but he will be giving us that hot earnings related fire. Also, I have to talk about, I need to stop doing these typo trades. Talk about fat fingers. This Tesla long, I liked, and then this was actually, we just eclipsed my area of profit taking. I ended up getting out of this completely flat, so I can't be, that crying over spilt milk about it. However, I forgot again to change the number. Instead of 191.20, I put 190.20. Sad face, crying emoji. It is what it is. We are flat on this, so not too upset. And I want to explain this trade as well, because someone was saying, have you looked at the 5-minute on Tesla? I've traded on the 5-minute in Tesla, and I know what you mean. We did have these lower highs and lower lows. However, I was looking at this more as a support and resistance play, and in that aspect, it did end up coming to fruition. And I want to explain my thesis here, if I may. This 191 area was very much an area of support earlier. We come up into it, then we have the double top, we go to the downside. Then this is where we get interesting. We bounce a little bit off that 191. I tried to take profits here, did not get filled, that's okay. Then I was watching what we do at this 190.60-ish area, because that was an earlier area of support. And I was thinking, if we break below that, I'm outie. But we didn't. So I added a little bit to this position. This is, again, where I would have been taking profits had it all worked out. Alas, it didn't. But that's my thesis here. To me, it wasn't a short because we held this area like a glove. I realize when I say that out loud, that analogy doesn't make that much sense. It fit like a glove. We held it. It was solid. I don't know. We were bullying here, though. And look at how we bounced up from there. Congrats to anybody who did get this bounce. It's okay. Fat fingers happen. As I put it yesterday in my meta trade, fat fingers can save lives. Today they did not, but that's all right. We're flat in the trade, and I'm going to stop belaboring the point because it's all right. Let's look at NVDA. Ooh, hello, NVDA. Double top, perhaps? I don't know, but I'd like her to prove herself to me before I go short on this because I do not trust Tesla at this moment. Jack Knife saying held with a fork, held like a fork. I like that. I like held like a fork. Yeah, let's do that. It held like a fork. I enjoy that. But yeah, no, I think NVIDIA, I like the slightly lower high here. But I don't want to short this just yet because I've learned my lesson shorting NVIDIA. I tried to short NVIDIA of that 500 break. We saw that happen. That was a little, that was a little bit of a sticky situation, but that's okay. Learning from mistakes. AMD I also had in my side chart. AMD looks like we could actually be curling back up though, which is why I'm not involved yet. I'd like to see what we do at VWAP. I believe it was Zion Lala mentioning net here. Yes, it was. Sharif Adera, net after earnings. Profit taking or is it consolidating? Let's see what we have here on Cloudflare. Is it flaring to the upside? Yeah, we know it's flaring to the upside. It's a good look here, but we are petering off now on the daily. Do you mean, I have to say, do you mean like profit taking on the daily intraday or profit taking wider term? But yeah, if you let me know, no worries. Sean saying, Adara, should I get out of NVIDIA? I don't know if that's directed to me or directed at the chat. Oh, at me. Okay, let's look at this. Where did you get in NVIDIA? Okay, congrats to you. That's a fabulous look. And I mean, like, you could just tell on the chart, well, like, this made so much sense. Congrats to you. 703, I think, I don't know. I think this top and tail candle right here at 717 scares me a little bit. But again, we look like we're curling higher. Maybe like take a little bit out at the 717. That would be my take. But of course, not giving advice. Sean is the Katina man, as Sharif calls him. Very much knows what he's doing. $14 in the money. But that would be my take on that chart, Sean. And thank you for asking. And he has put in the chat, beauty, she's getting good, guys. Thank you so much, Sean. I really appreciate the support. I appreciate our whole community. And, Sean, Neil, Brendan, Sharif, Obi, all the guys in the back, and everyone in this chat has been so helpful, and I really do appreciate the community, and I feel very honored to learn how to trade here with the highs and the lows and the fat fingers and all of it all together. But yeah, to Cloudflare, I think that this 113 area would be of interest. Look at where we started pre-market. Then we come right before open, we kind of bounce back up into that. We fail it viciously. We come back to that 10 at 10, and then we fail. That 113 area is going to be something I am keeping my darn eye on for sure here with Cloudflare. In terms of like prop taking, if you're talking about this on the daily, I would say go ahead. We broke out of a pretty flat range that we've been in for a while. I think you can celebrate a little bit, but again, not advice, just my take on the chart. In terms of intraday though, that one, yeah, it looks like it might be hard for us to get back to that 113 because that 113 on the 5 minute has been a level a couple times around. Thank you so much everybody for the support in the chat as well. I love being here and I love learning, and yeah, Sharif and I hopefully having a good time, and we're doing some how to trade. How is Apple going?
Apple's coming back down into a key support level, so we're going to have to keep an eye on this one as it does come into that 189.80. That is the former area of resistance here. Coming back down into this area now, so keep your eye on Apple if you are long. I'm getting out through the break of 50, so I'll give it 10 pennies below my entry, all right? So we obviously had resistance at 190. We're up there a number of times. The size at the whole dollar level was big enough to turn this bad boy back down, and now we're 30 pennies off that top. Keep your eye on Apple. It may be turning around here as the fuge does reject 18,000 again. It's doing that wick shimmy dance into that level, but from the south side. So if that's the case, oftentimes what we do get is a rejection of the level. But strong day on the future, up 0.75%. I wouldn't bet against this until I have something more to work with. So Apple keeping an eye on that. The other one here, INBS is absolutely holding that 10-period moving average on the 5. Any dips into the 10 period so far have been bought up. It has been a very spready, volatile trade. It is a 120,000 share float. So make sure you are sizing in accordingly and you are taking the proper precautions by having stops implemented, okay? So we're accumulating in front of that $12 area. It's more like $11.50. That's the area of resistance right now. Sure, we have wicks in $11.70, but the closing prints are all at or south of $11.50. So that is the more accurate level. But this one continuing to trend up vis-a-vis the higher lows that it's putting in every successive 5-minute candle. So that usually is a bull case for a flat top break. An ascending wedge preceded by an uptrend, that's what we know to be a continuation pattern. If that is the case, it's just a matter of time until we see that $12 break. It's accumulating now in front of 11. Pack your patience with this one, but try to get it off a key level, and that's what I did with my trade on it. Got it off a key level so that if there was the case where it turned back down, I could easily just cut it, all right? So, yeah, I mean, this one, I'm trying to think, maybe I should get back into this one with smaller share size because it is holding up awfully well, and I could use my out as the 10-period moving average that I talked about on the 5-minute chart. So trying to decide whether I want to get back into INBS. Feels awfully extended at this level to be punching along, but the technicals are what they are. So unless we're going to get a decisive rejection of that $12 and forego the continuation pattern that we're obviously putting in at the moment, it's going to be a trade that's, you know, I'm going to probably feel bad about for not taking after. $11 accumulation again here on INBS. Let's see how this one resolves. All right, yeah, I saw your firm thing. I got it. I'm not trading a firm, okay? I'm looking at ARM here. I'm looking for 114 rejection on ARM. That is yesterday's closing print. ARM just touched 113. If it makes it back up to 114, that's where I'll likely get short on that level with maybe a 25 penny stop, give or take. Nothing else for me to talk about at this level. No other trades for me, keeping my eye on this market.
Yeah, I mean, the market has certainly been one to watch. I want to shout out Diamond Realty of Miami saying, shout out to the beak wetters and the toe dippers. Yeah, I mean, shout out for sure. I'm in this AMD trade. I'm a little AM disgusted at my point of entry. No, that's an exaggeration. I just don't. I don't love it. I might add here. The reason I got in here, though, was I said I was looking for an AMD short. I did. That was something I was interested in. Someone in the chat said AMD dying or AM dying, and I did agree. And I was felt emboldened by, look at this candle. We go to 172. We knock at the door of VWAP, to borrow a Sharifism there, and then we flush right back down. And you know what? We tried it again, and VWAP will not let us enter to the upside. So I might have to add to this position here because I do like this consistent failure of this level. I'm absolutely taking some profit out at that 170, 160 because that's the area of previous resistance, and that is what I like to do with my trades. But for now, we're going to try to add to this position at 170, 220. Should we wick back into that, I'm getting out if we have a decisive VWAP break. I will not be interested in being in there beyond here. Kevy82 saying MSTR, SMCI trying to go. I know Sharif was in SMCI earlier, so congrats to you. That MSTR, let me look at because, oh, okay. I like this look. I do like this look. It's not the flattest top in the world, but it's a flat-ish top at that 636. Also, I had no idea Michael Saylor and MSTR were trading at 636, so congrats to them. What a value. But lower high, it's flattish bottom, lower high. Also, these lower highs happening around VWAP, Confluence, as our pal Opie is going to be talking about a little bit. He's going to be coming back on. He was talking about how certain areas can be magnets for assets, and I think VWAP, if anything ever magnetizes towards VWAP, I think that's always going to be a really interesting look. I do concur MSTR to be kind of interesting. I think breaking decisively above that 637.50 into that 638 would be very interesting indeed. But also let's look at SMCI for Kevy. Super micro. Yeah, it's not been very micro lately. I would say super macro. Oh, I see what you mean. But the thing that I will say, the thing that makes me a bit nervous is I'm almost seeing the opposite of what I was seeing in MSTR. By that I mean we're seeing a little bit of lower highs and a bit of a flat bottom, and that flat bottom is coinciding with VWAP. Now I will say that we're up 6% in the day, so I do not want to diagnose a flat bottom break where there is none present. However, I am going to be cognizant of these, although this is, I guess, a slightly higher low than the previous low, but this one I'm a little bit more cautious of than that MSTR. MSTR, very nice look. Also, a couple people asking me about my pal, Stresla Besla. You know what do I think it's going to do? I want to see what it does at 190-160 because that was going to be my area of profit taking before the fat finger debacle. I think this is a good look, but I think if we reject that 190-160, I might short this into that 191 because that 191 was a level and a half earlier today. That was where the long was planned before fat finger gate or typo gate or whatever you'd like to call it. I do like the concept of the short though, and look, we're even rejecting off that area again. So I think Tesla can continue up, but I would say Tesla's areas of support and resistance seem to exist for a reason, and they seem pretty set in stone in the day. I'd be cognizant of those. However, clearly I do believe in at least a range scalp for Tesla for the long, because I was attempting that earlier. Also, AMD is AM dying, and I am alive MD. We're partying in the USA with this one. I don't know why, shout out to Miley Cyrus, I guess. I like this look. I'm happy with the short. Wish I could have added a little bit more to it, but that's okay. We're going to take out some profit at 170, 160 and save a piece for the dream, because as Sharif and Sheldon Cooper say, what is life without Whimsy? I do not know. How is your Apple looking?
So we're topping out here on the future at 18,000. So now I'm really starting to consider whether we're going to go short on the NQ and get out of the Apple trade. I don't want to be in an Apple long and a future short. There's just too much correlation between those two names. Whether or not they're correlated on the day, in general, they are. So we're doing that 18,000 rejection. It looks very, double topish to me. We're doing the wick shimmy dance from the south side, and that typically means we usually retrace after. I don't know what Dan was tagging me there in the chat. I didn't have an opportunity to read it, but the point is, this is the level that I like short. Now, where am I going to get short on this name? Well, first of all, I have to decide if I'm going to get short. And then second of all, where I'm going to take profit, because I don't see this going all the way back down into 17.8. So I like this VWAP area here as a good profit-taking area if I do decide to get short. 17.941 or thereabouts, maybe de-risking at the 50-point level. But, all the ascents into 18,000, rejecting for now. And that is obviously having a stifling effect on all these Mag 7 equities. We've topped out on Google. We've certainly topped out, for the moment I'm talking about, on Softy. We broke that 420 and then down we go. Meta's already weak. You see this topping tail candle here on Amazon showing it's slowing in its ascent. Tesla is typically running on its own nowadays anyway, so it's continuing to go through this 191 3/4 level off that 190.50 bounce. A good curl up there for Tesla. Look for VWAP possibly as a level of resistance. And then, as you can see here, NVIDIA topped out at 718 and changed back into 716, but this one still looks like it's primed to go, putting in higher lows here on NVDA. I'm not sure what to make of this futures move. I'm going to continue to be patient. I don't want to punch short on the future right now and then get rinsed to the high side. But from what I'm seeing, every time we pop into 18,000 on the NQ March contract, we do upper candle wicks. And that usually means shorts are instituting at that level or people are taking profit, one or the other. To me, it doesn't really matter at this moment because we're not able to break 18,000. So I'm not punching in short here. Going to continue to watch, but there could be a really good short trade to be had on the future if we continue to wick 18,000 in this manner. Apple's still doing the thing. Nothing's changed with that regard. Keeping an eye on INBS. We are possibly now curling back down. We talked about a possible double top. That double top may manifest at that $9 area, but make sure you're using appropriate size and you are using stops. It's 120,000 share float. And then the other trade that I'm keeping my eye on, here comes a firm into 114. A firm wants to go green, it looks like here. We're about to go green on a firm. I'm not going to just, stand in front of this and get run over. It's going to have to prove to me that it is rejecting that 114 level. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. I don't care. I'm not going to take the long just because it's breaking through that level. I'm going to wait to see what it does. But 114 incoming on a firm. That is yesterday's closing print and a possible level of resistance. It's about to go green at the moment. So we'll keep an eye on that. Yeah, that's not ARM, honest Abe. Yeah, sorry, ARM. Yeah, sorry. My mistake. I'm talking about ARM, not a firm. Yeah, guys, calm down. I got it. All right. Yeah, I'm talking about ARM 114. If it comes into that level, then we'll look for short there. I'm also looking at a possible flat top break here on NVDA, despite the fact that the future, looks like it may be rejecting at that 18,000 level. This one continues to put in higher lows with a flat top with a preceding up move, and typically that is something that we see break through the top. So I'll be looking at that. That's all I'm looking at the moment. We'll see what the rest of the afternoon brings. Is Neil, you ready? Okay, I guess he's not ready, so we'll continue to wait.
Good times. Yeah, I mean, AMD is, I don't even know what to say here. I will say the one thing that makes me nervous is our inability to make this lower low. we eclipsed that area. We got near that area. We couldn't eclipse it. I just got out here because I was getting a little bit worried. But yeah, I mean, some people were saying bull flag. I don't think this one is a bull flag because to me it looks a bit more lower highs, lower lows. However, and this top and tail candle is also a bit sketchy. But I do see what you guys mean. Like it's certainly still up on the day, and that was something I wanted to be cognizant of. We're out of the trade. I'm not going to say never. Something I'll be considering. But for now, though, I am very excited to announce our pal. Well, Opie will be in here in a second, too, so he's also our pal. But we do have our pal, Neil, over there, who is real and a very big deal. And he will be sharing his real deal with Neil over here.
Welcome to The Real Deal. And look, whether you're like me, as a trader who happens to like the game of poker, or whether you're like any other trader that just observes what happens throughout the day, you're going to realize the importance of switching gears. As traders, in life in general, you have to work within the context of the environment that you're in. So when you're trading, that means things can be different at 9 o'clock till 10 o'clock. And in the middle of the day, they can make a shift. And then at the end of the day, in power hour, you can then make another shift. And it's incumbent as a trader that you have the ability to shift gears to the market that you're in. Now, this can work in a lot of ways. We day trade here, obviously, at Real Trading. And what we do here on the show, Trader TV Live, every day is going to be day trading. But imagine a scenario where you're a swing trader. Swing traders should observe the environment they're in. A swing trader should have setups for bull markets, and when stocks are doing this, you're in a bull market. I'm showing ARM because it's a really extreme example. But you know, when you're in an upward trend, you might have strategies for a bull market. You might flip those when it's a bear market. When things are going sideways, you might have a set of strategies for that as well. Now, when you're day trading, this gets a little bit more simple, I like to think, because you usually parse things out from separate day times. Now, times of the day. We always talk about the opening rush, the opening range, and generally speaking, that can be 9:30 when the market opens here Eastern time in the US to 10 o'clock. That first half an hour of trading. Now, I tend to think it's not a hard and fast rule when that opening rush is. Sometimes things slow down at 10:25. Sometimes they slow down at 10 o'clock, 9:45, 10:15. It's just about that first set of moves and your expectations out of it. You are always going to get one of the biggest volume candles of the day in that open. So what are you looking to capture at the open? You're looking to get the big explosive move. This is the one 15-minute or a series of 3-minute candles that'll only be a couple of data points that can be the entirety of a day's range. So the manner in which you should be trading there should be to try to hold on for the bigger move and look for that explosive upside. It's not really a scalper's market in that first 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Because if you try to scalp inside of ranges like this, and one day it's completely insane, and even the next day when I zoom in, scalpers are not going to do particularly well in that type of an early move. But if you're trying to catch a bottom, if you're in a short holding it, you can get that explosive opportunity. Now, this plays in both ways here. If you try to capture, and I'm going to zoom back out so you can see yesterday, if you try to capture the size of moves that'll happen at it open, looking at what's going on, what happened with ARM, if you try to capture that in the afternoon, yes, it retraces a fraction of what it might have been. If you try to catch a breakout buy of dips or a breakout trade, you're going to get a fraction of that explosive trade. And if you're sitting there hoping for 10, 20, 30% like it did in the first 30 minutes, you will just be there in a trade that never gets profit. Let's say you buy a perfect dip at noon, and it goes $4 in the money, which is a great trade on a $100 stock. But you're expecting it to go 30 bucks like it did before. Well, suddenly when it stops you out here, you've done nothing but hold a trade for 2 hours that gave you an ample opportunity, not just to get in and out for profit, but get in and out multiple times. So once you've decided, okay, I know that there are different times of day and different places where I want to have these gears that I'm going to set up in. Morning trades, more explosive, hold on to them longer, don't scalp trade. Middle of the day, play off support and resistance, a little bit tighter stops. Try to play maybe directional trades, favor the long if you're buying dips, or play into heavy resistance and short off tops, but make sure you're taking profits in the scalp mode. And then maybe at the end of the day, you're doing a little bit of the same or holding a trend trade into power hour. Once you've divvied it up, you've got to remember the most important thing when being a trader and trying to get better, and that is to catalog your successes and your failures. If at the end of the day, all you do on a stock like ARM, or maybe you want to trade the futures and you're trading the Qs, and all you ever do is say, I'm up or down on this stock, how did I do? That's my P&L, or grade every trade exactly the same. I made 10 trades on it. This one had this win, this one had that win. You can't do that. You've got to then divide, okay, these are my opening trades. These are my breakout trades. This was my lunchtime trading. Put those in the same group, because what might happen, and I'm telling you because I know several successful traders who had this problem, is we make a bunch of money in the first 30, 40 minutes. And they were consistently profitable on breakout trades, buying dips and holding all day, all morning range long. They made great money doing it. But then in the middle of the day, they would just lose trying to capture bigger moves and not scalping very well. But at the end of the day, they'd just be up on the stock they traded. So what would end up happening in that scenario is they catch the explosive move, say on the Qs here, they buy dips, they hold for the high, all that good stuff. Then they try the same stuff when it's going sideways, get no big moves, get chopped around, end up taking a couple of hits while trying to hold a big win and bagging no profit. But because they only lost 25% of their day, they just see themselves as up on the day. Look, I made money on the Qs. But that's not how you're going to get better. What you have to then do is parse those trades out in your journal or your spreadsheet, however you want to do it, and ensure that you know which ones are actually profitable for you, so that maybe you put less risk into the open trades if you're a better scalper in the midday. Maybe you put more risk into power hour trades because you figured out that, hey, you know what? I have a win rate of 55% taking breakouts at the open, but when I take trend trades in power hour, I'm winning 75% of the time. My R&R is suggesting I should be doing more of that. And that's what growing as a trader is going to be. So it's one thing to observe when you can do different styles of trading and switching gears. It's another thing to grade your performance in those different styles, and then you can start to risk allocate differently as well. So I kind of hope that makes sense to everybody. You don't just trade one stock and say, hey, I was good on the Qs today, I was great on Apple today. You've got to be able to look at the different types of trades you make. Breakout in the morning is not the same as a breakout at lunchtime. A buy the dip is not the same at 9:30 as it's going to be at 3:30 when there's not as much time left in the market for it to be able to rally. And once you recognize that, you can start to grade yourself better, you can start to allocate risk better, and you can become a better trader. That's the real deal. And I can't say it enough. If you're not keeping track of your trades, then you're not trying to get better. Good luck, everybody.
Thank you very much, Neil. Insightful and informative as always. And then we have now the Ob, the one, the Knob. How are you?
What is
Obi?
going on? I am doing well. How about you?
I can't complain. You know, had a couple of trades, nothing too major. Kind of a relaxing Sunday, Friday.
Sunday.
How about you?
Whoa, you're really relaxed.
Yeah, I know, clearly, right? How's it going?
It's not too bad, not too bad. I just got to pull up some charts. I just sat down, guys. Hope you guys are doing well. I see you guys in the chat. What's up? What's going on? I'm just gonna pull up some charts, and we're just gonna talk about again. I gotta remind everybody. I'm just a trainee. I'm just presenting like how currently in my trading journey I am prepping for earnings. Now this is subject to change. It's changed almost pretty much every earnings season, and I keep adding stuff and I keep kind of working on it. So feel free to give suggestions in the chat of how I can maybe improve my process and get better at it. But currently, right now, I'm just going to talk about what I've been doing in my preparation for earnings. But yeah, as I set that up, I'm just going to pass it off to Sharif to see. What have you been trading, dude?
So we traded Apple, we traded SMCI and INBS, all profitable today. pleased about that. Got out of the Apple trade right now as it did break below the key level that I had earmarked here, which is the teal dotted line. That is resistance level 1 on pivots. I'm going to wait to see if it does find a leg of support around here. If it does, I'll get back in. But it's a V-shaped retracement, a 190 rejection, having a high a day right now at 189.99, so couldn't break through that 190 level. Not surprised about that. Still not really understanding why Apple did what it did midday, but that's neither here nor there. We'll just trade the price action. The one that I really regretted not getting into, and that one that I actually called out live on the show, was the 114 short on ARM. It gave you about $3 to the T, because that 114 area came in, and there you go. You could have had $3, excuse me, within a span of 5 minutes, as it did aggressively retrace off 114 to just above that 111 area, maybe 111.05. However, for the bears continuing to look at this, this is another higher low though, okay? So even though we did reject that 114 level, which was yesterday's closing print, by the way, it wasn't a random level that I just found up my you-know-what. It was a level that I had earmarked from before. Closing prints are super important for me. However, it is holding up and making a higher low. So if this has another attempt at 114, we could see that area break. So keep your eye on that 114 level if it comes into play again today. And it was putting in a succession of higher highs as well, not just higher lows. But that 114 level was kind of predictable owing to yesterday's close. So we'll have a look and see what ARM does the rest of the day. The other one that I want to keep my eye on is INBS. I earmarked this $9 level for a breakdown. So let's see now that we're below $9, albeit by about 20 pennies or so. Do we give up the ghost at this level? We've already made a newer low. We came down to 8 1/3. Despite the fact that the previous low on that trough over there was 8.5. So let's see if this one continues to print south. Guys, 120,000 share float, very dangerous. If you're going to short a low float name, make sure to size in accordingly and take the proper precautions using stocks. You good to go?
Yeah, yes, sir. Okay, so again, this is how I'm currently preparing. And yeah, Sharif nicely asked me to come up and just talk about how I'm doing the earnings, how I'm taking the earnings this time around. So I got a little bit of a list, and I've learned some things on my time on the floor as to like how I can improve tackling the earnings season. And what I found is preparation is key, and the process is obviously matters a lot. But yeah, we can just jump right into it. One of the first things I want to take a look at, we saw what happened with NVIDIA this past year, right? When a company reports like they have really strong guidance or EPS, or like revenue forecasts, like we've been seeing a very strong bid, especially in the tech sector. So I think those three things are seem to be pretty key. And if they meet like expectations or not. How far away are they from the expectations? Is it like really crazy? Are we blowing past expectations, right? So maybe that can direct me towards looking at some of those stocks, right? So the first thing I kind of do is who's reporting. So I go home, I'm like, okay, all right, who's reporting? Who reported overnight? Who's reporting in the morning? I take a quick list. You can get that from Earnings Whispers. You can get that from Yahoo Earnings Calendar as well. Yep. A lot of different good sources for figuring out what earnings names are coming up during the week or I like to do it on Sundays as well as a little bit every night as well. Beauty. So you have a list of names, right? So you want to make that list. That's what I did. So I make that list, and then I look at which ones are day ones and day twos during the week, and kind of like to look at them a little bit differently. Like day twos, I've said this before, I do a little bit better on the day twos because we've printed a bunch of information on day one. I like that. There's RVOL on day one. I think I found that maybe you can catch some players offside if you can look at some of those levels, right? Okay. So sorting for the best opportunities. Now I have a list of tickers that I want to look at for tomorrow. As an example, so
Monday?
Yeah, for Monday. So for Monday, I have a list of tickers. Then I'm like, all right, so how do I sort through these? Because yesterday was crazy. There was more than like 10, 15 stocks that I had on my list. I was like, there's no way I'm going to be trading all of them. So how do I kind of narrow that list down a little bit? I like Arval, seeing what happened in the after hours. How did the earnings report, like, what was the price action after the report came out? What does pre-market look like? And is it doing a significant Arval, right?
Okay.
Relative to past earnings. And then I'm just like, okay, so looking at technicals, then I'm like, all right, so we've done this move, we've done some price action off of this earnings. Is it around a previous key level, right, on the chart?
Okay.
I like to look at that. That can be all-time highs, 52-week highs, a longer time frame levels, anything like that. So I think ARM was a great one yesterday, and I guess a little bit of today as well. But yeah, super strong. So I'm looking at some of these pre-market after-hour levels as well, and then day one levels as well to look into the day two.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Sure.
So you just said you look at pre-market and after-hour levels. So do you put a lot of stock into these after-market price action moves and pre-market price action moves?
What do you mean? Like,
So I mean,
like, do I weight it? I think here's the thing, because I don't know. From my current understanding, it's just like pre-market after hours can be a little finicky. But if it's doing volume, if there's significant volume, then and there's liquidity, then I think some of those levels might be important.
Okay.
I want to give some precedent to some of those levels. That's kind of how I want to look at it right now. But yeah, and then how is price action kind of built into going into earnings? Like, what's the bigger picture? For example, we know that tech has been catching a bid. There's the CHIPS Act that's been carrying some of these tickers since 2022. So there's a bigger picture kind of move going on with semiconductors, and yeah, that's kind of part of it. So what is the bigger picture going into the earnings? And another thing, what's the sector doing, right? What's the sector doing? I think I want to take a quick look at that as well. But at the end of the day, price action is king. I want to take a look at recent levels and volume to really kind of base some of my things. So, and then after I do all of that, I'm like, all right, I have a list of a few tickers. I've narrowed it down to a few, and then okay, so what am I going to do with them?
Okay,
right?
that's the
it's like,
most
am
important part.
I bullish? Am I bearish? Do I even want to have a bias?
Right.
Right. Sometimes based off of the action that it might have done, if it's holding really well on really strong earnings, I might want to look for a position in that direction or whatever. Right. I don't know. I want to create a bias based off of that information that I have.
Fair.
That's what I've been doing. And yeah, so and what do I think based off of how we've set up in the pre-market, what we may or may not do? That might give into the bias. But at the end of the day, I forget who it was. I think it was in. I think it might have been in Alpha Trader. He talks about strong opinions weakly held or loosely held. So it's like I can have a strong bias, but if something else happens during the day, I need to have like an ultimate point where I'm kind of wrong. And shout out to Neil. I watched the Real Deal with Neil from yesterday, and I really kind of needed that. And I was like, all right, my if-thens are slack-a-lacking, and I really need to pick that up. And so having those strong statements to really tell you this is where I'm totally wrong, I think that's definitely key as well. And after I've kind of figured that out, and then I look at levels, like how do I want to execute on this? What are some execution strategies that I can apply to those levels that I've found, say from day one, pre-market, previous longer time frame levels, anything like that. What kind of execution structure do I want to use? Maybe some support, like a holding bid, or holding the ask, or maybe even VWAP, or maybe even anchored VWAP, right? So anything like that. So deploying execution strategy. So I make a plan of like, if this does this, then maybe I want to do this. So that's been really helping kind of hone in some of my earnings trades and be like, okay, this is how you can meticulously think about like, okay, these are all of the things that I'm looking for to happen, and then if they happen or not, I'm going to be executing one way or another, right? But yeah, so and then after that, it was just like, okay, so how much of my daily risk am I willing to give this trade, right? Do I want to take multiple shots at it? Do I want to give myself a space to take take multiple shots, or do I just want to? I have one shot, and I'm like, this is really good, and I just want to take that one shot. So based off of that, maybe I can be like, okay, I want to take 50% of my daily risk, or maybe even 75% of my daily risk, depending on how much I like it, right? And I think that can be pretty discretion binary. I don't know, but I'm trying to figure it out.
I see what you're
right?
saying.
So
Yeah, well, it
it's-
doesn't have to be black and white.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So it's like that. That's kind of the place I'm at right now in my trading journey as how I'm looking at earnings. And yeah, day one, day two. So especially if it's like day two, what did we do day one? That's kind of I like to look at that as well. But yeah, other than that, nothing.
Do you have a rule like Sean has a rule where he tries his best to stay away from day one plays for earnings, catch it on the second day? Do you have anything like that with respect to volatility? Because that that first day play, a lot of trading rather than investing happens on that day.
Yeah, I mean, you can see here, like we can use ARM as an example because again, hot stock, tech sector, chips, and they had a great great earnings. Their earnings call basically was like, yeah, we're basically going to be needed by all of these tech companies going forward. But yeah, no, day one was quite strong there, and then you had that day one initial aftermarket earnings reaction high as well. You can see that the dip kind of comes into some of these levels here. But yeah, no, I definitely like to see what happened on that first day one. And yeah, talking about the offside, if there are short-term players that are in on day one, I think that you can look for a potential offside on day two as well. But again, it's a work in progress. I'm still learning. And yeah, that's a quick summary of how I've been kind of tackling earnings. But so, like I said, it's a work in progress. It's going to evolve over time, and it has been quite significantly since I've joined the floor. But yeah, that's a quick gist.
So, okay, you mind if I ask you some questions?
Sure.
So we know ARM obviously had a big move yesterday. Do you ever look at any sympathy plays that are maybe less volatile that you can take advantage of? Like, because today the theme is pairs. Pair trading, right?
Okay.
So whether you want to take one overvalued one long, or one overvalued one short, and one undervalued one long, or taking a sympathy play long or short, depending on what it's doing with its pair, right? Do you ever look at anything like that?
Sure, we can talk about how TSM kind of moved with this kind of action happening in the market again, along with a lot of these chips. And okay, so let's take a quick look. Strong bid on day one, right? And then kind of a consolidation for the rest of the day. Let's take a quick look at what TSM did. TSM pretty much bid up all day on some significant RVOL. Like, look, you can see the RVOL at the bottom there. It's doing over 2 RVOL, and it does not really look back, right? It's just a very, very strong trend on the day. And today, sure, you take a little bit of a pullback, but I think TSM might have been a good place to look if you were looking for that sympathy of that ARM move. But something like NVIDIA, I don't think I would really take a look at that because that is the chip leader, right? So I think last night when I was looking back at ARM and looking at some of the things that did kind of move along with it, I came to the conclusion that like, oh, TSM might have been a decent sympathy play. So yeah, it's great that you asked that question because I asked myself that question last night and I found that TSM might have been maybe a little bit less volatile kind of action, and it did kind of trend pretty smoothly throughout the day. Yeah.
I have another question for you. How much does volume factor into your analysis here? So when you look at a name, so let's say like I don't have anything off the top of my head right now because I don't want to use ARM because ARM was obviously a very successful one, but an earnings play that pops up aggressively on lower volume. Are you suspicious of that? And if you are you looking for a possible fade the next day? I guess what I'm trying, I don't mean to lead. Okay. I guess really what I'm trying to ask you is how important is volume in your analysis for earnings?
I think volume in general is probably one of my top indicators that I like to look at.
Understood.
Just period. I think volume speaks volumes. So, I don't know.
Yeah, well, you're in Dara's chair, so I mean, yeah. Yeah, great analysis there. Any other little tidbits that we can leave the viewers with with respect to earnings?
I mean, I don't know. Like I said, like I'm just still learning. I have a long ways to go. Much more room for improvement. So I would ask the chat, like, do you guys have any suggestions to kind of that might be something I'm not looking at?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I don't delve totally deep into the earnings reports. Like I'll take a look at the summary. I'll take a look at maybe some potential keywords that might have been mentioned, and just what their guidance is like, what their outlook is like. And we see that a lot of the times this past year, tickers have had strong EPS and revenues, but then they kind of follow what the guidance is doing, because the guidance is kind of shot, and it's like, I think what is it? PayPal is a great example of that from yesterday, right?
Yes.
So PayPal yesterday, some decent earnings, but their guidance was not that great, right? So they were just like, we're not really gonna give guidance for the rest of the year. And we kind of sold off on that, and I did realize that.
Well, they're going to give quarterly guidance, but
so.
not yearly, because I think they were getting rinsed.
So I don't know if that's why it might have sold off, but the thing is, it did sell off off of the earnings, and I kind of was like, oh, but it did. They beat.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think that guidance might be a little bit of a key that I might want to look at a little closer going forward. But
Yep. Okay. The OB, the one, the Knob. I appreciate it, Obi. Thank you for being on and letting us know exactly how you approach earnings. And I think, I personally got.
it's a work in progress.
It is. Well, I think, I don't know how you feel, but I feel like a lot of us, except the big kahunas, are works in progress. You know what I mean? Trying to evolve into what we all want to be, which is successful traders. True?
Sure.
All right. Oh, I
Thanks for
appreciate you
having
being on.
I appreciate
Thank
you
you
as
very
well,
much. Just let Adira. Oh,
Take care,
she's already-
guys.
She's there.
We'll see you guys later.
All right, guys,
Happy
let's have
trading.
a look at CLSK, because this one I've been watching essentially since we came on. CLSK is absolutely squeezing now, and I feel very silly for not having gotten into this one. While Obi was talking, this did dip off that. It rejected essentially 1350, dipped into 1335, and I said, this is the moment to get in. This candle looked a lot bigger initially, but now it's being overshadowed by these huge green candles that are moving to the upside now. It was one of those trades where less thinking, more punching would have probably been a little bit more appropriate in this case. But CLSK now 31% to the high side. This did report earnings in the aftermarket yesterday, and it is continuing its ascent today. Where do we find resistance? Maybe the whole dollar level at 14. It doesn't look like there are any intervening levels between here and the whole dollar level. Let's have a look at the 5-minute chart on CLSK. We are above the IB highs right now. So the implied balance high earlier on was 1360. We just blew through that. And I suspect why we just squeezed aggressively there is because we did clear that IB high for the first time today since essentially the open. The opening range there for around 15 minutes. But yeah, big move up on Clean Spark. Let's have a look at the daily to see if we've ever been up here before. This is in a stock I'm awfully familiar with. So let's have a look here. It takes a second for whatever reason to load on my chart. All right, so the all-time high on Clean Spark. Just make sure I've got that right. Looks like it was this past December. We did get into that 1419 level. That was the all-time high. However, the closing prints are all south of 14. The highest closing print so far was this candle here on the 27th. That took us to 1378. So that's the highest ever that we've closed. Today, the high, 1377. So 1 penny off that closing print, but we do have that $14 level with which to contend. It's a fantastic look on this name. Look at all these outsized green candles. This on February 6th, so a few days ago, this was trading at $8. It is now almost doubled in value on its way to 14. Clean Spark absolutely killing it. And this was an obvious level of resistance too that we could have been looking at. That $11 area takes us back for essentially to the beginning of the year, January 3rd, until we broke down there on January 11th. So that was a nice clearing there yesterday to close above that level. But Clean Spark continues to give upper, nice moves to the high side. We'll see if this one can continue into the whole dollar level. Maybe we'll look for a rejection off there. Let's have a look quickly at ARM, because it is right back at $14 and rejecting again, coming back into 13. So ARM having trouble with yesterday's closing print, but I gotta warn you guys, for everybody who is holding this short, we are putting in higher highs and higher lows. So this could be, you know, one of those ones where we're accumulating to break through that whole dollar level. 114 ARM. You would have taken $3 on that initially if you had taken the 113 short, but keep your eye on ARM. It is technically only down a 0.4% on the day, but it gave you a nice move off that 107 bottom. You could have taken $7 on that name up into that 114 area. ARM continuing to give a good move up, Adara.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, happy to be back here. ARM looking very nice, trying to strong arm the market once again after that fantastic performance yesterday.
You're muted.
Oh, I'm so sorry. My apologies. You did power off. Yeah, full on power off there. Yeah, my bad. I apologize there. Hello, everyone. Now I'm back. Oh, am I back? I'm so sorry, guys. I am causing technical problems left, right, and center over here, apparently, but I'm so happy to be back here with Sharif at the desk. ARM trying to strong arm the market. Thank you so much to Obi as well. Yes. Thank you so much to the Amazon, or the Amazonian. I keep calling him the Amazon. I don't know here, but thank you so much to him for killing it over there. I learned a lot from his earnings approach because, you know, and I like too that you were asking him, you know, like, how is your approach different? Because we know Sean has his own approach. Everyone's going to approach everything differently. Yeah. And that's why I think, cool, I'm really happy that we got to talk to Obi, or you got to talk to Obi. We all got to listen to you talk to Obi. We got to hear from Obi. On his earnings take, when every trader will look at earnings differently. And I think, yeah, it was a really fruitful discussion. I'm very happy I got to hear it. And I'm so happy to be back here. Bears versus Bulls saying nice mic drop. Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, happy to be back. Still looking at this AMD short for an AM drop here. And I actually am going to try to get involved in this because we don't want to anticipate, we want to participate. I almost said we don't want to participate. We do want to participate. We're going to participate in a smart way, and I think to me this short still makes sense because we're still seeing lower highs, we're still seeing lower lows. So, you know, how low can you go? We'll have to wait and see, but I want to get involved here. I like the look of this, just going to take it probably to the 171 because especially look at that area earlier too that we had that resistance coming into support. But for now, I think we're very excited to talk some more earnings stuff. How is that NQ trade going?
I literally just got it
sorry,
like
yeah,
a
no
second
worries.
ago. Yeah, we're just watching this. We did wick up into 18,000 again. A lot of stuff is curling to the high side. I'm looking at Google. I'm looking at Amazon. They're awfully aggressive to the high side. Meta's even making a move now. Softy pumping up. It's Tesla that's dead money at the moment, rejecting VWAP. But, you know, we're still holding near highs on NVDA, 716 and change. So I feel like the Mag 7 is really helping hold up this market. So let's see if we can hold up here on the future. But if this comes back down a few points, I don't have patience today, so I'll just get out of it. But we're looking for a move up. Got the profit taker at 18,015.
Yeah, I think that's a look. I'm trying to get involved here in AMD. We're a couple pennies away from my point of entry. I like this short. I also like the look of my pal Tesla, which is going to be kind of interesting here. Oh, why is this? This is not the whole 5-minute chart in Tesla. Let's try. Sometimes let's see what we go to the 3-minute here. Yeah, I don't know. My Tesla chart seems to be, there we go. So the one, I know you can still only see this part. Do not know what's going on with Tesla, but basically I kind of like this idea of us falling from grace at this 191.60 area. That was the area that I was interested in earlier, but I know this was a huge area of resistance and support earlier, so I'm going to be pretty cognizant of what we do from here. I don't want to get involved just yet, especially because I think there are some issues with my chart. But I also want to look at Google, which seems to be trying to attempt something here, looking at these Mag 7s. Oh, so we got filled in AMD, so that's a fun update as well. Yeah, Google had a little bit of chop and turn. Someone was asking me earlier would I short Google, and I thought it looked like an okay look for a short at the time because we did have all of these wicks of sellers overwhelming buyers. Then Google said, actually, no, I'm joking. I'm just going to keep going higher. And it did. It continued to ride this 9 EMA, holding it really well, and we're continuing to go to the high side. There could be dip buy opportunities, especially as someone who likes range scalping. I do not dislike the look in Google. Very happy I didn't take it short, I have to tell you, because that would have been a bit of a dicey look in the end. What else am I looking at? IWM, I need to update my side chart because there's a lot of kind of the same old. But this I to the W to the M is also still kind of looking interesting to me. Slightly higher highs, but this nice move up was not bad. So I'm going to be cognizant because I don't know if this is going to be long or short yet. This could be a double top, and I mostly say that because of that big candle to the downside after this nice green candle up we had. So I'm going to have to wait and see here. But if we have a bit more of a dip opportunity, I will take a dip and I will dip my toe into this IWM and take it long to the top of that 198.30-ish area. Also, Nate Belt asking about IREN. So we're gonna look at that IREN. I know this is a crypto-related name. This is actually one of the few small caps I have traded. I did trade this once. We got a couple pennies out of it. It was not like, you know, it was a trade. I have nothing else to say about it other than that it was a trade. Iris Energy, this one definitely just moving on the overall Bitcoin hype. It looks a little bit compressy to me, I have to say. Lower high, lower high, lower high, higher low, higher low. We could be compressing here, especially as we're kind of riding that 9 EMA in a way that's interesting. I'm not going to diagnose any move on this. However, I do think, you know, generally what I have learned here through how to trade is that usually compression patterns will resolve in whatever direction we're currently trading. We're up 14% on the day. This could resolve up. But also, I do find it harder to look at patterns on these crypto names because I know they will do make whatever choices they want to make. I do not trust them always. So I'm going to be patient on that. Right now, we are just in that AMD short 171.65. But we're kind of chopping and turning a little bit here, so I'm getting a little bit worried this might not come to fruition. I just like the lower highs, lower lows. If we break decisively into that 172-ish area, I'm going to have to say sayonara here because that would decisively be a higher high, and that 172 is holding like a glove earlier. How are you doing over here?
Yeah, we're flat on it, keeping an eye on it. Let's see what we get. I already put my stop on this. If it breaks 975, then I'm out. I'm talking about the NQ March contract, but I'm keeping an eye here on Amazon as it continues to head to the high side, looking to take possibly 175. It's been a great day here for Amazon as it you know, really reclaimed that 170 level today, because yesterday we closed out at 169 and change. And today's the first time we've been above 170 on a closing basis, it looks like, for some time. And we're going to clear that level decidedly today as we break through 174 right now. Higher highs, higher lows here for AMZN. It's great. I would say one of the strongest looking charts definitely on the day. Obviously, it is competing with Google, who also has a very bullish looking chart here. Nary a lower low. I mean, you've got a couple here that made like these two candles over here, but that was a quick bounce off the 10 EMA. So Google continuing to be awfully strong. If we make it up to 150 today, which I really don't think we are, unless we really start squeezing here, look for a 150 reject. But like everything else, if you're taking a counter trend trade, make sure to manage risk and have your stops in place on those levels. So we were involved in Apple earlier as it kind of got going there midday. For no reason, still don't see a headline for Apple to explain this midday pop here, but now it is coming back down, holding that VWAP level, which also happens to coincide with 189. VWAP on my chart, 189.06, and it seems to be range trading now between VWAP and pivot point resistance level 1, which is at 189, just south of 50, 189.45. So strong move on Apple, giving up the ghost though on that name. But if we do hold up VWAP here and break through on a closing basis above this teal dotted line, look for another possible long and another attempt at 190. We had one initial attempt here at 190 that rejected. We got into 189.99. That was not good enough to propel Apple through that $10 level. So we'll have to wait and see whether we get another attempt at that level or not. But the trade that I am more focused on right now is the futures. I'm looking for a clearing of 18.10. The high on the day now is 18.09 3/4. If we can stay above 18,000 and do the wick shimmy dance from the north side rather than the south side, we could have something here. I was anticipating, to be honest with you, quite honest with you, I thought we would reject 18,000 today, maybe take it sometime next week. Today is a Friday, so tend to have fewer traders, fewer market participants on this name. But, in a bull market, anything is possible. And we are certainly in a bull market at the moment, guys. What a year it has been so far for the Mag 7. I'll just read out some stats here for you. NVIDIA already, almost 40 days into the year so far. NVIDIA's up 45%. Meta is up 34%. Netflix is up 15.25%. Softy's up 11 2/3. Amazon up 15%. So these are names, you know, that are awfully strong lately, and it has been a real good look on these markets. What's up? That was you? Yeah. I don't know. I thought it was one of the production team. No, you didn't. Yeah. Shout out to Neil, who now has secured the bank key on his Stream Deck. So great. Yeah, that's good. We'll get more people hitting the bang there. But yeah, great look for Softy. Great look for Google. Great look for Amazon right now as they all curl up, helping keep the futures above 18,000. We'll see if we get a print.
Yeah, it's certainly been a look. Also, I have to shout out Mike. You're saying, Sharif, need your magic to pump the SPY. You know, we're all going to be saying pump it with you. I can't say it right, but we attempted. I mean, although I am in a short right now, so of course would not love the market to pump, but it is what it is. That's okay. I mean, I support everybody. I think this short might actually be getting a little bit dicey as it is. AMD could not break above that higher high yet, but I'm going to be super cognizant of it. We're basically at my area of entry. This is not the most fascinating trade that's ever happened. We're just kind of chopping and churning here. But I am really cognizant of the fact that that area off of which we bounced for this new pop-up is going to be that same area that was an area of support earlier. So that is exactly where I'm going to be setting my beak wetter, profit taker, what have you. And I will be dunking the entire beak at this area because I do not trust this moment any lower here. Kendall Lopez saying, can you check if there's a cup and handle pattern on the weekly? Been looking at it for the fast minute. Is that going to be the, is that the daily? Sorry, not the daily. Is that the AMD? Because I can totally do the AMD, just making sure that's the AMD. Nate Belt saying, I'm taking a shot every time you say cognizant. Haha, much love. Yeah, thank you so much. I do say it a lot. I say it to the degree that it's actually featured on our little how to trade. I think there's a confluence on there as well, and there's also a cognizant. So that's fun, and shout out to Fabian and Ramin. Oh yeah, okay, I'll look at Affirm for you, Kendall Lopez. Thank you for affirming which stock you were talking about, because I was not sure. Let's look at the weekly. Oh, that's the 4 days, so just shy of a week, 5 day. There we go. Cup and handle. Oh, okay. I see what you mean. I think I will say that we do have, it's always hard to diagnose patterns before they come to fruition, right? And I think generally my understanding of the cup and handle is the handle would be a little bit lower because we have, I mean, you know, there's certainly some gap ups and downs on this weekly in December and January that are kind of distorting this a little bit. I would say to me it's a little bit more cup and handle-y. Should we kind of have it here and then we go get the handle kind of curving up, right? So this looks like kind of like a bit of a lopsided cup with a bit of a handle. You know, we'll have to wait and see, of course. It's a little harder to diagnose patterns until they actually fulfill themselves. However, I will say there is a bullish look here to this. We had that move up starting August 4th. We kind of start going down. Then we make our way back up. And then we see a little bit of a breather. So I think I definitely could be a cup and handle. I think it's a good look either way. I would say it is a bullish look, whether or not it is a cup and handle with certainty. I'd love to answer this question also from Day Trading Singh. I've never traded IWM. What do you like about it in terms of movement, price, etc.? I like TQQQ to trade futures based on cheap price and slower movements. Easier to manage risk. Yeah, I appreciate that question. I think really I started looking at the IWM because I've been doing the small cap recap. And lately we've been implementing the IWM in that just to give people a look at what the Russell's doing and how it's hustling on the day. And I think why I started trading this was because I would notice sometimes we'd have kind of certain levels. Also, yeah, you can just peep how I've been, traded this one earlier. But why I like it too is I find sometimes there'll be certain levels or ranges that you can play within. We've clearly broken out of that now. Now we're just a bit kind of more in a bullish move. If there's dip buys, I might get involved. But basically I like this because, we'll have levels. I find it pretty responsive to VWAP. And I also find we generally kind of play within the same sort of range. So there are certain pops I can take. I also find it moves a little bit more slowly than the SPY or some of these other ETFs. But I appreciate your take. I'm going to have to look at the TQQ on that. And thank you so much for mentioning that because I think much appreciated. And I know my trading style is a little bit different. Everyone's going to have their own style. I'm still learning. Sometimes I will accidentally, I'll take things that are counter trend. I'll make decisions that they're not great, but I was talking to Sharif about this, and you were saying it's a learning curve. It's going to be a process, and that does make me feel better. And I think I really appreciate everybody's support in the chat as well as I learn. And thank you so much for answering that question or asking that question.
Yeah,
day trading
absolutely.
thing. How is this going? I see a peak water.
Okay, we just took out a little profit there as it made a new high a day, 18,013 and a half. We'll see if we can stay above 18,000. This is all going to be predicated upon 18,000 holding. And we definitely had issues holding or breaking even through 18,000 earlier. We did get that break in. You know, the first 5-minute candle close above 18,000, which prompted me to get long on the futures. Whether or not we hold, an entirely different story. But as I look at the Mag 7, I am encouraged by their price action. Google is at high a day as we talk. Amazon is at high a day. Softy's not at high day, but it's curling up, looking to go towards high day, less than $1 away from the high day right now. Tesla's curling back up. I got to tell you, Apple very range bound right now between VWAP and pivot point resistance 1. And NVIDIA, I mean, it has such an aggressive move earlier on that even though it is near high a day, it doesn't look like it's trending at the moment. But it is still putting in higher lows. I'm talking about NVDA with a possible flat top, you know, at near high day, 718, 717. The next profit taker for me on the future is going to be the attempt at 20. So I've got it at 19 and change just to front run the 20-point level, see if we can get a move up there. A new high of day as we speak, another new high of day right now on the futures as we speak. So we're continuing to run up. But for some reason, I just have you know, some suspicion that this might be kind of a topping tail candle that we break the future by 20, 30 points maybe or so, and then right back down to 18,000, then maybe reclaim 18,000 next week. Hence, I'm not going to put the amount of spacing between my profit takers is going to be a little bit smaller, and therefore smaller profits, and that's fine by me. We'll end up trading a little bit differently today, and I'm good with that. So keeping an eye on these names, I got to tell you, Meta looks to be the weakest of the bunch right now. All right, so even though it is flat on the day, 0.05%, Meta is putting in many successive lower highs here. It is below VWAP as well, and that may have a negative effect on these futures, but the other names are all trending to the high side. We'll have to wait and see whether we hold. With respect to CLSK, I was looking at this one while Obi was talking. This one continues to run. I seriously had a dip trade earmarked for 13.35. Now this is broken through 14. CleanSpark is on the way up, guys. 34% now after reporting earnings yesterday, and there it goes. This is squeezing. This is obviously squeezing here through 14. A lot of volume coming in on CleanSpark right now. I don't know where the levels are on this. I haven't charted it on the daily to kind of have a better analysis of what to expect there. But what I'm going to do first is find out what the short float on it is because I think that will inform my decision about what it is doing. So give me a second to load up trade ideas. Let's bring that bad boy back down and have a look at what the short interest is on CleanSpark. All right, so it is not a negligible short float, about 10.5%. That is a good amount of shares, especially seeing that we are near highs. We looked at when this one topped out. This did top out in mid-December. So once we get near those highs, guys, keep in mind that this could really start squeezing because of where shorts may have instituted. That was the top. Let me show you exactly what I'm talking about here on CleanSpark. This takes a minute to load on my chart, so I do apologize. For whatever reason, it is kind of temperamental. Yeah, there we go. So right up into that 14 level we go, and if we get into this 1420 and we're awfully close into that 1420, this could absolutely squeeze. The weekly chart, let's just have a look at the weekly chart here to make sure that we have the right levels for, oh goodness. Okay. It's going to take a long time, so I have to look at my futures trade here. Okay, we're absolutely flying here on the futures, so I'm going to put my next little profit taker at 27.25 to see if we get that print. CleanSpark is still taking forever to load, so I'm sorry, guys. I'm just going to have to let that one go, and we're going to have to focus here on the futures. But suffice it to say, keep your eye on that 1420. That general area of 14 could be absolutely trouble for any shorts. It could squeeze beyond that level. Right now, the futures are going, though, and that's the name we're involved in. So looking for that next print at 27.25.
Yeah, congrats to you. And you are right, shorts are in trouble because I am a short and I am shaking in my boots or in my shorts over here. AMD short, not too much happening here. We're basically still at my point of entry. I also entered an Apple short because you said range. And I said, let's take a look. And I liked what I saw. And what I saw, although now we're kind of breaking out of it, is this this kind of range here. I was really just going to take this to the bottom of the range and then add if the range continued. Right now, though, it looks like Apple's like, oh, what range? I'm going to go higher. That's cool, Apple. Do your thing, 21. But I'll be watching what it does at 189.60 because that was our previous area of support. Now, if we go down from there, I'm going to add to this potentially. If obviously if we break above that, I shall be out of this trade. Apple Syria. I'm not speaking to you. My Apple Watch is acting up. But yeah, I think this is a nice look here for Apple. And AMD honestly still kicking. Like I think Apple to me is a bit more of a stressful one just because we moved with a bit more viciousness. AMD, I'm basically still at my point of entry. Also for context, in terms of what, like, you know, where my entry is, 171.65 for AMD and then 189.36 for the Apple short both. Grandma Ruby, hello Grandma Ruby, can you look at FGen for me? Yes, I can. I can totally look at FGen. FGEN, let me get the deets, the 411 on these guys. FibroGen, this is a small cap. I'm not seeing any news on FibroGen. I'm gonna pull up see if I can get the market cap for FibroGen here. Give me just a moment. I hope everyone's been having a really good trading day this week and today. And I think, you know, lots of earnings stuff on the horizon, lots of crypto. Certainly an eventful Friday, as Sharif was saying too. It seems like there may be some market participants here for sure on this Friday, which is awesome. Okay, I have the deets on FGen. FGen, short float of about 15.5% and float of about 91.6 million. So that's not an insignificant short float. And yeah, the float a little bit larger than some of these other small caps, so just shy of 100. But I think this is an interesting look. We're cradling VWAP right now, just above here. I'm going to look at the daily as well here for some more context. But right now, I think if we hold VWAP, that'll be interesting. Really, it just looks like, you know, like a typical kind of small cap gapper. We make a bit of a move up, then we kind of peter out a little bit around lunch. But this one we actually petered out a bit later. We started petering up about 12. So that's a little interesting, and I think holding VWAP will be of interest. I know one thing Sharif always says that I find really important when looking at small caps, because they're not ones I trade as much, so it's more just trying to be familiar with how these move for analysis purposes, is that I know Sharif likes ones that move, they've surpassed their pre-market high, which we've definitely done here for this FGen. Let me tell you, we weren't really moving much in pre-market. And then also, we're above VWAP, so that's certainly of interest. I want to look at the daily here on FGen as well. Oh, RIP my P Pro 8. That's okay. We're gonna pull that one right back up here. But yeah, also I'm on the position board now. Cool. Hi. Let me look at F to the Gen on the daily chart for Grandma Ruby. Bang button. Yay. Yeah, I think. Oh, okay. I really like this look on the daily chart, I have to say. A rounded bottom, if I've ever seen one. Then we coil a little bit, spring up with a viciousness into the $1 plus area. Chop and churn, jumping off of that 9 EMA, continuing to the upside. I have to tell you, I think it's a pretty good look here, Grandma Ruby. But on the daily, I'm going to be really cognizant of what we do at VWAP, because I know you always, as Sharif always says, VWAPs and small cap, nice if they stay above them. So I think that's a good look.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, and then other than that, my shorts are still shaking in my shorts a bit. Apple is giving me pause. AMD is just, it's chilling. It's kind of, it's AM decent. I don't have a better pun than that, but it's just hanging out. We're gonna have to see what we do over here. How are the futures pumping still?
Good. I just have to do a quick trade in and out there to update the position board. There we go. CleanSpark is absolutely flying, guys. Unreal, this name. We are now at all-time highs. We have never been this high on CleanSpark. It did report yesterday. It is a Bitcoin name. They are miners. This is absolutely pumping up here. I didn't expect us to blow through 14 in the way that we are at the moment because of that December high. I figured that would act more of a resistance level than it is right now, and clearly it is not. So fantastic look here on CleanSpark. Let's see if this one makes it up to that $15 level. We'll have to contend with the $half level before we can talk about the whole dollar level, but what a fantastic look today on this name. I mean, where do you get this? I mean, where do you dip trade? Initially, I wanted to get this in at 1335. This is when Obi was talking. I'm like, this is putting in higher highs and higher lows. This is around right here. I said on the first dip, if it holds a higher low, I'm going to get in. And then I hesitated. And I don't know why I hesitated, but I hesitated. And I didn't get it, and it absolutely rocketed up. And I kept thinking, okay, it's extended now. And every time I kept thinking it was extended, it kept putting in newer highs. So I feel a little silly for not having punched into this, but that's all right. You're not going to catch all of them. But keep your eye on Clean Spark, especially if we get through that 14.5. It could definitely be a move into 15. Let's look how the futures trading now. Okay, so we're nicely in the money, about 20 some odd points, looking for a break of that 18.027 HOD that we're currently nursing. Let's see if we can make it into that 50-point level. We have no highs above this, guys. This is a blue sky setup. We've never been this high on the NASDAQ. There's nothing to chart here, okay? So we're gonna have to look at psychological resistance, and to me, psychological resistance on the futures comes in at 50 and 100-point intervals. I don't see any reason why it should be anything else. So we'll see whether we get a move up or a continued move up on the future, and we'll look to take some out in the 30s. But I gotta tell you, as I look at this, I mean, NVIDIA, high a day right now, just, well, almost. Apple curling back up, breaking through that pivot point resistance that we had issues with. Amazon, high a day. Google just printed high a day. Softy is really trying to fight with 420. Apple is moving up into that 193. But you know what the problem is? The problem is META. META is absolutely weak on the day. It is right back down the lows again. It's trying to hold above the pivots. Initially, it did hold the pivots. And then we pop back up. This was such a bamboozling trade, a V-shaped pop-up. And then we don't get a V-shaped retracement. It isn't incremental lower highs and lower lows, but we're right back at that critical support level. And, you know, think of it what you might, but the fact of the matter is pivots have been influential for these Mag 7 names. I'm talking about pivot points. In case you don't know what pivot points are, I'm just going to give you a quick little idea here that you guys can, you know, you can choose to employ it if you'd like. What we have on our YouTube homepage is a little search button right there, and then you can type in their pivot points. And then the lesson on pivot points, and Adair and I did two. We did pivot points on futures and we did regular pivot points. You can go back, watch those lessons, learn a little bit about what pivot points are. Anytime we use a term that you may not be familiar with, this especially is going out to our newer viewers, please come to our YouTube homepage, use the search function, and type in the point or the term that you're not familiar with. And chances are there's probably a lot of videos that explain them. So just wanted to point that out for all our newer viewers. Continue to watch these futures here as we do stagnate at that quarter point level. I'm talking about the 25-point level, looking for a move up, but unsure of what we get. I want to mention ARM because we talked about that 114 short on ARM. And I told you guys, you know, second time around, this might not be as nice. And you know, sadly, I was right here because it went up into 115.5. So that cleared you out for about $1.50 there on ARM. And what is it doing? It's continuing to put in higher lows and higher highs. So clearly, it initially did reject that 114 level, but this one's just too strong to be held back by, you know, just a measly closing print. ARM on the way up, guys. What a couple of days it has been for ARM.
Yeah, ARM certainly doesn't look like we're going to break an arm there anytime soon. I mean, like we were weak on the day. We coiled back up. I believe I brought this one on the big desk as well because this was when it was really starting to run up with the viciousness. Congrats to anybody involved in that name. What a look. Also, congrats to Sean saying he's 14 in the money on NVIDIA. So we're going to clap for him there. I guess that might have been what that AMC monkey was about earlier because I know that button was getting pressed there.
Yes, yes.
Also, I'm going to guess the futures are pumping because AMD is trying to curl back up here. And no, AMD, don't do that. But I mean, congrats to you. Really nice look there on the futures. I'm very much in the wrong here for taking a short on anything that's not meta from the looks of it. But you know what? That's okay. We're still below that 172. So I'm staying in this one for the time being cognizant, though, that we've made a slightly newer high. I might have to leave here. But there was something Oh yeah, the thing I want to say too with regards to pivot points is what I find, like, we always say not every indicator or everything's going to be accurate 100% of the time, right? But what I think is interesting with these pivot points is sometimes I'll see a level and I'll be like, oh, I like this level. And then Sharif pulls up the chart and that happens to be where the pivot point is. So there is a lot of confluence, shout out to Obi, between the pivot points and levels that we interact with. So I don't think that's a fluke. I think it's certainly something worth keeping an eye on. Like we say, if there's levels that come together, they're worth keeping an eye on. I'm almost definitely gonna have to exit this short, but we're above the area for now. Or below. So I think that's, I don't want to get out too early here. This Google, also I'm looking at, because Google's coiling back up. I know you were mentioning that Google coil up earlier as well. I think Google above 149. I think this is a bit clearer look on the 3-minute, so I'm going to pull up that 3-minute because we had a little bit of slowdown, a little bit of sideways action, a bit of that 148.85 top. Continuing to make higher highs, higher lows. I like this look. It's not enough of a dip play for me to really feel motivated to get involved, but this is a really nice look here. Also, IWM continues to pump. Congrats to anybody in this name. I know Day Trading Sing was saying that they were involved in this briefly, and I mean, yeah, congrats to you. Really good look here. Whew. Nothing small about this small cap move here on these this IWM. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get out of this AMD here just briefly, but here we go. Oh. Pressing the wrong button there.
You want me to take over?
I know, it's okay. I'm just going to punch out there. So, yeah, we're out of AMD short. I'm happy to say that. Also, some people, the Shim King, sounds like the Wick Shimmy King there. I like that. Mentioning the Snapchat. So, let's look at Snap. Let's see if we snap, crackle, pop here on Snapchat. I know this was a recent earnings play as well. Yeah, a bit of a double top-ish on 1128. We kind of fly to the downside. We completely blow past that 1104 area, but then we come back, we retest 1104. So 1104 could be earlier support, right at open actually too, becoming resistance. So those levels that we have right at open, I do not think are to be ignored. So I think this is an interesting look. This would maybe be a short, but I think, you'd probably have to take it with a viciousness and with a decent amount of share sizes for this to be, worth it, just because it's a couple penny move. But I think this is certainly an interesting look here on Snapchat. How is that futures going?
Yeah, it's still going. We're at day's highs right now. We just printed new day's highs, 28.25. I've got the next profit taker here in the mid 30s. That will be the second last one, and then we're going to let that last one ride. That's if we get filled. We haven't even broken through 30s yet, so that's a big if statement. We're going to start the lesson again in a second. Thank you again to Obi for coming in, giving us his perspective on how to trade earnings. Again, it's a work in progress. When you hear it from myself, Obi, Adara, when the big kahunas talk, it's a different story. So, take what we say with I don't want to say a grain of salt, but you have to understand that we're still learning as well. Okay? So I just wanted to put that out there. Now, let's get started with that. Let's get started with that lesson.
Let's do it. Yeah.
So we're talking about pairs trading, and we're talking about pairs trading in the context of earnings. There's pairs trading that you can do outside of earnings, and then we're going to do it in the context of earnings. So you have to understand that. So pairs trading is a strategy that involves trading two correlated stocks to capitalize on the relative performance changes during earnings season. So pairs trading essentially aims to take advantage of the divergence or convergence of stock prices within a specific sector or industry, providing basically what we call a market neutral approach, okay? So it's a zero-sum game here. What is pairs trading exactly, and how do you take advantage? All right, the idea here is to profit from the relative outperformance or underperformance of one stock compared to the other, all right? And so just by way of example yesterday, what did we see when, not yesterday, the day prior, when ARM, well actually it was yesterday because yesterday was like the first day after ARM reported. What happened when ARM reported? We didn't really have a great day on Intel. That's because ARM is a direct competitor with Intel. Their chips essentially are much lower, they use a lot less energy, and as such, they're more, prone to be put in laptops, cell phones, etc. So when you look at how ARM may perform and keep your eye on how Intel performs, I'm not saying every day they're going to be inversely related, but over the long term, they could be, all right? So that's what we're talking about here, taking two stocks that you see possibly converging, or, you know, the other side of that is you take two stocks that move together, right? So, for example, we talk about NVIDIA and AMD. Remember when NVIDIA reported, AMD got that bounce up for because they're in the same field. They're not, you know, even though they're competitors, their technology is not in competition, whereas ARM's technology is in direct competition with Intel's, okay? So that's kind of what the picture that I want to paint here. So there's two types of, you know, connected plays. There's correlation and co-integration. And they sound like fancy words, but they really are quite simple. Correlation measures the degree to which prices of two assets move together, while co-integration assesses the long-term relationship between their price movement. That factors in a little bit later. So pairs with correlation or co-integration are more likely to revert to their historical relationship, and that obviously provides you with potential trading opportunities because there's a mean reversion, right? There is a pullback or a move up, depending on whether you're short or long. So how do you implement this? So the first thing is you find pairs. So like I just mentioned with ARM and Intel, you're looking for pairs like that. There's umpteen amount of those relationships all over the different sectors in the stock market. So you're finding similar pairs. So you're going to identify companies within the same sector or industry. You're going to check their historical correlation. So ideally, you want that correlation to be a factor of 0.7 or above. And you're going to look at their fundamentals. You're going to analyze their fundamentals, look at their financials, look at their growth potential, what are analysts saying, etc. Step 2 is identify the spread, okay? So you're going to compare the current price ratios. What are their PEs? What are their EBITDAs? How do they compare to one another? Look for deviations from their historical trading range. I mean, ARM was absolutely deviated, even though we don't have that much data with which to work because it's a relatively new IPO. Okay, and the more significant the deviation from its historical trading range, the larger the potential shift back to the mean. So that's what you're looking for there. Step 3, earnings impact, okay? Pay close attention to upcoming earnings announcements for both companies so that you know when they're going to report, and you should be anticipating the potential impact on each stock based on the analysis that you do and expectations of past performance. So keep a look in the chart. How did they respond last time when they reported earnings? Did they move inversely to one another, or was there a correlation? All right, so we just absolutely got printed there on the pop-up, on the future. So we've got one more left on this bad boy, and we're gonna let this one run. We're either gonna get stopped out or we're gonna take profits at some higher level, okay? So you're looking for deviations or correlations in how they reported earnings last time. Did they move together or did they move against each other? And that's easy. You go back on the daily chart, and what you're looking for are outsized volume days. Here's another trick though. TradingView, I don't have it on my platform sadly, but TradingView will show you every earnings date. So if you activate that, it'll show you on the chart, on the bottom of the chart, it'll show you when it reported earnings. So you know exactly. But if you don't have that feature, you can really look for the outsized volume days. Those outsized volume days are typically earnings days. Step 3, you're looking for the earnings impact. How did the earnings actually impact those pairs? So pay close attention. You're looking to prioritize pairs that react differently to earnings surprises. So when analysts were predicting a beat and it missed, what was the reaction there? Or if they were predicting lower guidance and it actually beat, what was the reaction? Right? And then obviously step 4, executing the trade. So in this case, you're buying the laggard, you're buying the undervalued stock before earnings, and you're short selling the leader or the overvalued company simultaneously. Okay? And everything that I'm saying here is risky because it is earnings related. Earnings related has a lot of volatility. So you need to be managing risk with position size and stop losses. I just want to mention that because what we're talking about is inherently risky, okay? And it's inherently risky as well because you're getting in before the earnings. So it could go the wrong way and you have to be ready for that, okay? And you're obviously going to manage risk by setting stop losses for both positions. And then step 5, monitor your position and close it. Close the trade when the spread reverts to its normal range, regardless of the market direction, and monitor closely during earnings announcements for potential adjustments. And don't forget what we talked about. the earnings call is sometimes as important as the earnings release itself. Oftentimes, product announcements are announced during that time, or something is said that analysts don't like. Let's remember that Tesla earnings call back in October when Elon Musk really drew a negative picture about the short-term view of the EV market vis-a-vis higher rates, right? So the earnings call oftentimes, not oftentimes, but sometimes as important as the earnings release itself, okay? Risk management, equalizing dollar amounts, make sure to actually take a decent position size that fits within your risk management here, and obviously set stop losses and take profit levels in there.
Yeah, no, I think one thing too I want to say is, so I guess the strategy would probably work better than if you have a relationship that's been a bit longer, right? Because you're mentioning ARM.
Yeah.
ARM, it might be harder to have levels because I think ARM has maybe reported that I think this might be the second report since IPOing. So we're going to have a little bit less earnings reaction, right? I think that would be, whereas we're going to talk Pepsi and Coke, which are two things that are both could be in competition, and some of their insights could be very similar to each other, right? Because if people are buying pop, generally, you know what I mean? Some people, we talked about this, some people are Coke people, some people are Pepsi people, but either way, if you're going to be buying one, someone's buying the other, right? So stuff like that, you might have a little bit more depth of information. Which also, so side note, I just remembered too, going to be a big week for Warren Buffett next week because Oxy and Coke are both reporting next week. But also, one thing I want to say as well is I think it's really like, if you have a longer relationship, if you have a longer lasting kind of correlation like ARM and Intel, you can maybe get a better sense the longer it's gone on of how reactive it will be. Right now, we've only seen 2 earnings from ARM, so if we see more, maybe this correlation will become more or less important. The other thing I want to say too is it's kind of interesting just historically. I took some notes on the history of how this was developed. So the strategy began in the 1980s, and it was created by a couple tech analysis researchers working for Morgan Stanley. And so it's basically the whole idea of using like statistics and technical analysis to find market neutral. And I really appreciate that, that word, Sharif was saying that, which I think is really important. The idea market neutral opportunities, because you can take a long and a short. And I think what's interesting too is, again, as Sharif said, this is really a strategy that you can use whenever, but it might be most fruitful during earnings. But also, I mean, if you look at some of these chip names, a lot of these are going to move in tandem in general, right? So if you have one that's moving up and the other one is lagging a little bit, you can maybe benefit from that relationship by going long one, shorting the other. And it really, it depends on the situation too, because we're talking as well about the whole idea of once one is already to the downside, go long that one and then short the powerful one. Yep. But you can even, as you see the movement, you could get involved, right? So you can do a little bit, some of it after the fact, some of it while it's happening, but always just really be cognizant of risk management, because this is a little bit counter trend, some of this, if you don't know for sure where it's going to go as of yet. But honestly, like, this is a strategy I kind of want to implement more in my own trading, should the ranges and scalping still apply, because I like the idea of if one's moving up and one's moving down, maybe you want to play around with that. Don't mess with that.
And one of the types of orders that we've never gotten into on the show is something called a basket order. And you should really apprise yourself of what a basket order is here, because this is one of those situations where it may make the most sense to use, especially if you're taking these 2 correlated stocks. Whether you're going to take one north and one south, or both north or both south, you could really benefit from the basket order entry. I know on my platform, they make it very streamlined to be able to control both those names using the basket order entry screen. So for example, I can set stop losses and profit takers for both super quick from the same screen so that I can manage both trades. You may not have that option available on your platform, so just find out if it is available first and foremost, and if it is, figure out how to use it and how it could be utilized for earnings. So basket order is another very important order type that we didn't get to sadly on our week on I think it was just order entry stuff that we talked about. All right, let's get to some market action right now. We put in a bit of a topping tail candle here on the future, guys. If you can show the chart, please. A bit of a topping tail candle right now on the future at 18.034, and right back down we go into 18.0 single or 22s here. And I was going to say single digits, but yeah, low 20s. So let's see if we hold up at this level. If this comes into my entry at 18,000 and change, I'm gonna cut this. But what I'm looking for is a continued move up. If it does hold 18,000, I have no qualms about getting back in on this name. But great look on the futures, save and except for that topping tail candle that we have on the 5-minute chart at the moment. The other negative name on the day that continues to be negative is Meta. We just broke the low of day. We made a new low of day on Meta, 467.5. Breaking through that 468 support that we had earlier. The bottom on the bottom that we got to there at around 10 o'clock was 468.10. So essentially that 468 level was the area of support, but we've given up the ghost on that. Where do we find support if we continue to head down? Well, we can look at yesterday's price action. Look at that double bottom at 465 on Meta yesterday. So that was a hell of a double bottom there. If you caught that second dip into that level, you were well rewarded with what was that? A 1% plus move. Bless you.
Bless you. On
that name. So Meta continues to be the obvious weak name on the day in the Mag 7 world. Tesla did have an interesting little area there as it steps up, bless you, through 190, holding 190 excellent today, on its way up into 193.25. We just broke through 193. We're having trouble with that level though. 194.12, the high on the day. It's a bit of a V-shaped retracement and a nice break, a second break through through VWAP. So initially on our ascent into VWAP at around 193.25, we did reject, coming down into 191.25. You got VWAP though on your second attempt. And this 191.25 was not a random level. This is kind of like almost an inverse head and shoulders right now on Tesla, at least intraday, okay? And it was preceded by a downtrend. So, you know, this kind of fits the mold of the head and shoulders look, with the neckline being that 192.25. So if you go back to the week on chart patterns, what we said was you can project the move from an inverse head and shoulders by measuring from the neckline to the in this case the trough, and then projecting that to the high side, and that could be your profit taking area. So if you want to have a look at that, that could possibly be a nice move on TSLA here, because this 191.25 trough was not in isolation. Look over here. This double bottom, 191.25, we ascend and we reject. We come back up and we hold that exact same level again, 191.25. So this is looking to me like the left shoulder, the right shoulder, and then the break of the neckline being the pivot points, and there we go. So if you want to basically count from, let's do this right now. So the low over here, let's say 190.75, okay? And then the neckline was around 192.25. Take the difference, or take the difference between that, project it up, and that could be from the actual breakout area, which would be that 192.25, and then that could be your profit taking area if you don't know where to take profit, right? So just one of the methods you could use here to help gauge market direction or profit taking levels. All right, back to the futures. It looks like we're holding up, at least for the moment, making our way back into 18.0 We'll see how we do here.
Yeah, I think that's a really good look. And thank you for going over the levels on Tesla too. I think Tesla's certainly one that's had really clear, precise levels. For some reason, my chart is not getting along well with Tesla right now, as you can see on my P Pro 8 for whatever reason. But like, you know, it's a name I definitely have my eye on, but it's not one that it looks like would be easy for me to trade off of P Pro 8, because there's something funky happening with this chart. But also, shout out to Opie and his amazing lesson earlier. I actually did go long Amazon here. I don't love my point of entry. I probably could have waited a little bit. We were holding at this level, but it looks like we held better. That bounced off the 9 EMA. I was looking to get out of this if we go below that 174 area, because that was where we had A, this giant top and tail candle earlier, and B, where we, you know, just kind of an interesting area we slowed down a little bit at. But no, I like this long. I'm really trying to take out half the position at that, just before that 174.30 gate-ish area. I'm saving a piece for the dream within those wicks there. I like that look. This is the trade there. Paulo saying long the Zon. Yeah, I guess right now we are long the Zon. I really enjoyed that. I think that's a nice look there. A couple ones I want to look at for some people. Tony Price saying, what do you think about SoFi? And yeah, I'll let you know what I think about SoFi. Let me pull up SoFi. As Sean says, sometimes SoFi so good. We'll have to see if that's true. Ooh, I like SoFi. Okay, so why I made that sound is lower high, lower high, lower high, lower low, lower low, but but we did make a slightly higher low here. We could be curling back up. We did retake VWAP. And I think, you know, I would argue we're maybe trying to curl up a little bit of a roundy face or a smiley face. Shout out to Michael Noss, who was on the show this morning, so you can check that out. Michael Noss around 8:45 a.m. But yeah, I think what will be more interesting is if we could kind of reclaim this area above VWAP, get into that 824, 825. To me, I think that would really represent the completion of this coil to the upside. Then, of course, you know, I'm going to be interested in that 828 area, then that 831. Yeah, it's not one that I really have any levels that I would be trading off of, mind you, but I do think I would be careful of the curl there, Tony Price. But if we fail VWAP, if we make another lower low, and in that case, I'd be looking at this very strong, sorry, I got loud there, I got really excited, very strong bottom of this 817, 816-ish area. You know what I mean? We trough out there, come back, bounce, and then we get a little bit of a bounce there as well. So that 816, 817 is, I think, an area that I would be interested in. If we went below there, then I think it could be a bit of a short. But that's just my take on SoFi. I hope that is of some help. That is my take. Neil, having his insight as someone who's much more familiar with SoFi than I could ever hope to be. SoFi knows how to take VWAP, it doesn't know how to keep VWAP. And I think Neil's really proving this example right here. Look, we're already kind of dipping below VWAP. Oh, it is? Oh, I didn't even know that. Oh, okay, so Neil's saying it's a reference to the rental car episode of Seinfeld. I'm so sorry. I need to watch Seinfeld because I'm on my curb, but I'm not on my Seinfeld, so I need to.
Yeah, it's basically he went to rent a car.
Okay.
And he rented a compact, or he rented a midsize.
Okay.
And they told him, sorry, we don't have any midsize. But he's like, I made a reservation. And she's like, yeah, I know. She's like, I know what reservations are. He's like, I don't think you do. Yeah. Because if you did, I'd have a car. You just don't know how to take the reservation. You just don't know how to hold the reservation. And holding is the most important part because anybody can just take them. You know what I mean? Yes, and he's doing the thing as we speak. We both know exactly what we're talking about there. Yeah. Yes, one of the better Seinfeld episodes there.
You need to watch that now. You guys are going to get me into Seinfeld yet, because I need to know these references.
Yeah, it's all over the internet. You shouldn't have no problem finding that.
There we go.
Guys, Clean Spark continues to head to the high side. Unreal strength today on Clean Spark as it's almost 40% up on the day. This was an earnings winner yesterday. Anytime this has dipped has been an opportunity to get in as we ascend our way into $15 on Clean Spark. I'm still lamenting not having gotten in this around right here, but that's neither here nor there. We'll keep watching that. The other one that I want to mention, ARM continues to put in higher lows, higher highs. An awfully strong name today on ARM. The dip into 114 after rejecting 114 initially was really the play here. You could have gotten that 114 around right here, and then you'd be $1.50 in the money. So ARM continues to head to the high side. What a fantastic look. And yeah, we could chart something on ARM here because we've been higher. So let's go have a look here at ARM and see where we could find another level of resistance. So this crest in the close yesterday, I have to take this this area with a grain of salt. Or maybe not a grain of salt, but give it less importance. Why? Because it's on much lower volume. Okay? So vis-a-vis its price level coming in in the aftermarket there. So the closing print was at 116. The top of the wick was 116.71, and it was actually a level that we came into during regular market hours around 250 or so. We did top out at 117. Clearly, we've had much higher highs than that. We go into that 126 area on the open yesterday, but for our purposes, I'm going to be looking at the next level at 116 for us to hold up at. You initially got a good short at 114, but it was short-lived, and so you should have been taking profits in the face of that strength on ARM. Good look. Whether for the long or the short today, it's really giving you both. It's absolutely giving you both. All right, let's see the other trade. The other trade we had was SMCI for a 4-banger earlier, and now it is kind of trying to hold above VWAP. It did do that 730 break. You got into about 727, but you know, for our purposes, it was mostly a 730 hold. We are still putting in lower highs, though, on this guy. So, you know, the fact of the matter is just because we curled up off VWAP doesn't mean we're out of the woods so far. So if you're long, you should definitely be concerned about this lower high, and you should be de-risking in front of 740 a little bit, because that is where we crested out and possibly reject off again. But great look on SMCI on the day. Let's have a look now at the futures, because we just made another high of day on the futures, and here we go again, coming into 18,050. I'm still holding one position on this. I'm going to wait for the 50 print to come in. If it comes in, fantastic. If it doesn't, oh well, we'll get stopped out, but I'm not taking it out here.
Yeah, congrats to you. That's a fantastic look. What a look there on the futures. I am still only in my Amazon, or as someone said, I think it was Paulo in the chat, long was on. We're not doing too much of this. We're just kind of chilling out. Looks like we might be making a lower high. I might have to get out of this a bit earlier than planned. The plan was to take out some profit before that 174.40 area. It looks like Amazon doesn't really want to give me that. I might have to change this to 174.29. Should we get there, I'd be okay with taking out everything here. Actually, let me see how much I have in here. Yeah, let's do that. There we go. So I'm just gonna take this out a lot scalpier than intended, but that's okay. That's why I like scalpulating. What I do, you know, as the stock tells me to do, I'm responsive. The stock knows better than me, so I let it make its decisions. And I am just its conduit. I am its messenger. We are pretty close to getting our fill here as well on Amazon. I may have left too early, but that's okay. I'd rather have the profit taker than none at all. Also, I tried to get back into IWM, and IWM did not allow me back in here, but what a look here on this. I was trying to get back into that 199.20 area. Renata and some other people were saying IWM 200. I don't think it's impossible. If there's another dip opportunity here, I want to get in, but I don't want to be buying the high here, because, you know, there is a little bit of volatility when you're talking about like these ETFs. I want to be conscious. I do want to be really careful here. Also, AMD is, yeah, I mean, congrats to everybody, IWM. This is a good look. I've just been really trying to take this pop here a little bit. This AMD breaking above VWAP, which, as I said, was an area I was interested, like, hey, what are we going to do at VWAP? We broke above VWAP, but I really want to see here, I think it's interesting that we're also breaking above that 172.60, because this was a huge area earlier. We had this pop up earlier, right at the 9 EMA, then we curl back in it, and then we fall with the swiftness, and that's when we have our first break below VWAP. This second short on AMD was a bit more meh, but I was happy with the first short. I did, of course, take it out a little bit early here. But yeah, I think the fact that AMD is now taking that earlier level, I mean, you know, as we saw with Sharif's trade, fantastic trade. The Qs are in control over here, the NQ. And if you are one of these mega cap names, you're going to be swept away unless you're Amazon, in which case you're just puttering along. I'm happy with this trade. Happy I got out where I did, because this lower high made me a skosh nervous. Not my best point of entry. I'm going to be really honest. I'm really trying to learn, but we did take a scalp here, and scalp season indeed. NVIDIA, oh my gosh, NVIDIA getting, oh, not NVIDIA, Adara, NVIDIA. Oh, much like my Tesla chart, my NVIDIA chart is giving me some problems, but that's okay. We're at like almost we're past 718 here. We're trying to make a break for 719. Congrats to anybody long this one. If you're NVIDIA, it's a win video right now for a long. This is quite the look. Oh, Neil putting in some updates from Fed's Bostic here. Bostic data suggests real wage gains will continue for several more months. Need to be resolute, stay the course to get to target. Thank you so much, Neil, for putting this in the chat here so we can look at that. NVIDIA really strong. Everything's really strong. AMD, though, a little bit of a rejection, and we're back to that area of interest. I might have to go short this to VWAP. I'm a little tempted right now. Yeah, I don't have as many ideas as I'd like to have right now, other than AMD's. Sorry, not AMD. IWM's giving me a dip. AMD, it might have to be, buy the dip, short the rip. Might have to do both of that right now. How is your future trade going?
Fantastic. Yeah, we're holding on to it. Guys, Fed Logan is scheduled to speak right now. So according to the economic calendar here on investing.com app, 1:30 is the time for Fed Logan. I don't have my list to see who's voting and who's non-voting, but I've put in Logan on my news blotter, so anything that comes in with his name on, it will be captured, and I'll be able to read out the headlines as they come in. No other important economic events coming this afternoon, none that we cover anyway. There's a lot of commodity stuff. There's gold, crude, aluminum, copper, silver, nat gas, wheat, corn, soybeans, etc. All commodity-based stuff, not equity-based stuff. And, you know, it may have an influence on equities, but just thought I'd let you know that. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I'm holding this position again into possibly that 50-point level. I see Jay Lee there in the chat saying he just took the Qs short. All right, Jay, I mean, I hope you print, obviously. I'm not betting against you or anything, but I just don't agree taking random areas short because there's nothing off which to chart at this level, okay? So unless you're using some sort of indicator, you know, I personally don't see the price level or the indication here using the MAG 7 as some sort of gauge for market weakness to take a short. And here we go. We're coming into my entry awfully close into that 47.25 that I've been sitting at. I want to take profits right in front of 50 so that if we do have an area of resistance at the 50-point level, I don't necessarily miss out on profits. NVIDIA just printed a new high of day, 719 now the high of day on NVIDIA. I'm seeing a Microsoft pop up again into 419. Amazon is curling back again into high of day, as well as TSLA coming into that 193 area again, trying to break through that whole dollar level. Even Meta, who's been really hurt on the day, has popped off that 467.5 low and is in that 469 area. And that's going to be the end of my trade right there in the futures as we get triggered through the print on 45 or 44.75, excuse me. So pleased about that. That's the end of the trade on the future. We take a 40-point winner off of that 1805 entry that we got. Maybe now it can go down, Jay. Now I don't care as much. So happy that I did decent today on the trading, but you know, nothing really to write home about. We'll continue to watch, see if there's anything else afoot. Perhaps CLSK starts giving up the ghost or something. So we'll keep you apprised of everything that we're looking at. Obviously, INBS continuing to be a play for that $10 level. It's been a little consolidative, though, to be honest with you, since that huge move up initially into 11.5. We participated in this one from about 6 1/3. The last little print there was the 8 2/3 out on INBS. Awfully strong on the day, but let's watch what it does at 10.
Yeah, congrats to you on that trade. I'm pleased to punch for you.
Thank you.
On that NQ long. Right now, we got out of IWM this long. I thought we were going to be having a nice little pop here. We didn't. Like I said, risk management, not always glamorous, but it does make you feel a lot better about yourself. So I'm okay losing about 13 sim pennies on this trade. That's okay. We're going to brush that dirt off our shoulders and keep on trading. If we keep bouncing off this 90 MA, I might be interested again, but I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch, if you will. IWM is really strong on the day, so I'm going to let her do her thing, 21. AMD. Let's talk about AMD, as Sharif says. AMD, this short is still valid to me until we, I'm going to be watching what we do around that 172.80, 173 area. But why I wanted to go short here, because I do want to explain this trade. For one, this top and tailish candle. For two, that was not English. For another, where we kind of had that rejection is, look where we had this rejection earlier, basically the same level, slightly higher. But I think, and then also where we had the shop and churn before we fell with the swiftness was at that same area. So basically the plan is to take some of the profit here just above VWAP, and then I'm going to save a piece for the dream, getting into that 172 area. So just previous areas of resistance. This is going to be scalpy. This is not something I will be hodling or the hold on for dear life, which is a really fun word I learned from the GameStop movie, dumb money, and that I've been trying to incorporate more into my trading vocabulary. So I like this AMD for now. We're holding this level now. But as I say that, of course, we spring up. AMD is making me out to be a liar, and that's all fine. That's okay. IWM also popping off that 90 MA. This is probably something I should have held, but that's all right. You know, no regrets. We're going to try not to have regrets here. I'm not getting back involved in this until we see a new higher high. And then, because this, to me, this is a slightly lower low, lower high, I do have to say. Especially with that big red candle down, I'm kind of like, why do you even get involved in the first place, Adara? Also, Meta. Hi, Meta. What are you doing? Looks kind of rangy, at least on my 3-minute. I don't know if it'll do the same on the 5-minute, but why I say the 3-minute, I'm on the 3-minute. I have a 1 minute on my side chart, never mind. Yeah, so Meta kind of topping and turning this 469, 469.20. This is a pretty tight range, but I think this breakout is kind of interesting. I'm not going to get involved in this until I see clearer like rangier levels, but that's the look on that. AMD getting close to the point where I'm going to have to say sayonara. Just a lot of stuff to keep an eye on. I haven't looked at Apple in a while. Let's see how Apple's doing. Yeah, this one I got out of that long earlier. It ended up, or that short, it ended up being a bit of a rotten apple. We came back into my area. I got out. Yeah, nothing too exciting in the way of my trades right now. Just really trying to hone my risk management, not overstay my welcome, because they don't care about your feelings. ARM looks like it's breaking out though. Nice
yeah,
look for
ARM is very strong. It's continuing to trend up with higher highs and higher lows. You know, despite the fact that you could have gotten that 114 short and printed about $3 on it. That first short at 114 was really the only one that I would have taken against the trend today on ARM. Even though this was negative on the day, it had been putting in higher lows and higher highs before it went positive. 114 was where it went positive, okay? So, I mean, this one is just absolutely tough to stand in front of, even with, you know, a closing print like yesterday. Like, I mean, look at this. Fantastic, higher lows, higher highs, holding that trend line to the T, really giving every single touch on that trend line to pop back up. It's been an absolute giant. 116 incoming. We just printed high days through that 115.5. But you know what? It's not just ARM. It's some microchips in general, because NVIDIA is absolutely flying up as well. Let me take off a firm here, put NVDA. New high day now for NVIDIA. As we break through 720, we got to 720.60 and pulled back just a little bit. So, wow, that's all I can say about NVIDIA. Let's see if we can stay above 720. We're definitely having the fight right now of our lives at 720, and now it rejects. So you could tell there was a lot of shorting coming in there at 720 as it just tanks down into 719.50 all the way down to 719. That was awfully quick into that level. Let me just flip this up back. There we go. We'll see what this one does. But yeah, at these extended levels, we're going to get a little bit more volatility. And by extended levels, I'm talking, you know, in intervals of $10. So you get into that 720, 710, 730. Those are the likely areas where we're going to encounter resistance. Unlikely to be the whole dollar here on a $700 plus name. We'll see what we get with this one. But yeah, I mean, it's been holding the 20 period to a T on the 5-minute look. And a random EMA with which to use. You don't hear me talking about the 20 often, but that's the thing with these, right? You know, some days it's going to respect the 20, some other days it's going to respect VWAP, some other days it's going to respect the 50 or the 10, and it's incumbent upon you to look at what it's doing on that day. It's not going to be the same day in, day out. Just because you used the 20 yesterday doesn't mean that it's going to respect the 20 today. It depends on what algo is on, or what program has been, or what the programming was for that particular script. Right now, obviously, all I can do is observe. And every time it comes into that yellow line, which is a 20-period EMA on my chart, it has held up. So great look for an NVIDIA today. We didn't partake in it on the day. We've definitely traded in the last little while, but wow. Nothing bad to say about this name, goes without saying, obviously. Tesla putting in a bit of a flat top. Somebody was asking me in the chat if I thought this was a bull flag over here, this V-shaped retracement, and then this accumulation at that 193.25, whether I felt that that was a bull flag. I mean, look, I personally don't think it's a bull flag. I think it's an upward channel where we're putting in higher lows and higher highs, possibly coming into that obvious flat top that we got earlier at 194, 193.75, but yeah, I think Tesla is a nice move on the day. It's almost up 2%, rejecting that 180 level again that we got into a few days ago. It's been, that 180 level has been a rinse and repeat level, even though we did break it into that 175 a couple of days ago.
Yeah, it's been
great look.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think Tesla is certainly a really interesting look. The AMD short is still short. I added to this position because we got to 172.80 and then we smacked down with a viciousness. And I was like, Adara, add now. So I added now. Basically, I like where these kind of wicks end at this 172.44 area. I'm cognizant of that. We've been really, as much as we do not want to go higher, we don't really seem to want to go lower either. So I'm being really cautious here. Going to take some out of AMD at the 172.40. Then we're going to be interested in that 172.30 area where VWAP was earlier. Then I'm going to save a piece for the dream for 172. I have enough where we can trisect this trade and then, you know, have little like pieces for the dream, just like, you know, lining up like breadcrumbs. I don't know. I like this trade for now. We're gonna have to see how this goes. Scotty's Beats looking for a take on Alphabet. Yeah, I can look at Alphabet right now. Okay, so I got excited there. What a look. I know someone earlier, this looked a bit shortish, but then we kind of curled back up. Higher highs, higher lows, very much an upward trend line. Then we careen to the downside with a viciousness falling off here, this big red candle. We're gonna have to see if we follow any lower. I know there's been some interesting AI stories with regards to Google and the Bard Gemini situation. And I know apparently Gemini has been like really helpful. I know Sharif was talking about Gemini. Not one that I have really tried, but yeah, I think this break below 149 could be interesting. It's not one that I would really have any levels on with the exception of maybe this 148.85. So that'd be like what, like a 15 penny trade. Shouldn't say pop, but I think we do look like we might be falling off here. Although it looked like that earlier as well, especially with these three candles of sellers overwhelming buyers with the viciousness, and then we curl right back up. So Alphabet, I think if we break decisively below this 149 and into that 148.85 area, we're gonna show a better sign of giving up the ghost. Shout out to Sharif. We're really gonna have to wait and see here though for Google. Also, let's look at the daily chart on this too for Google to kind of see. Oh, RIP my Google. Give me 2 seconds. And I will pull this right back up. My daily chart just being a little bit moody. That's okay. Hi, AMD. Keep doing your thing, 21. Day. Yeah, I mean, ooh, okay, Google, the upper trend line on the daily is certainly one to behold. We had a skosh of a triple top here, this 138.70, 139-ish area. And we were more or less kind of flat for a little bit here, September to December. We didn't even really have much of a November to remember on Google because we just kept coming back to the same trend line. Now, though, making higher highs, higher lows. I think if you're looking at this on a daily Scotty Beats, I think a higher high here, reclaiming that 154 could be interesting, and it looks like we're poised to maybe make that look. But of course, you know, participate, don't anticipate, not advice, just my little read on the chart here. I also would like to do a quick little shout out to our pals at Benzinga Pro. We're going to pull this one up here. So you can see here lots of little articles here. Of course, BTC, Bitcoin being pulled up here. I know Neil was in the chat talking about BTC earlier because Bitcoin's been quite the look. You can take on auctions. You can get highlights on Fed Speak here. So much to look at. And you can actually sign up today for 50% off their premier news and research platform for retail traders. All you have to do is use the code TTV capital letters. That is T to the T to the V capital letters. And just use the link in the description to go to checkout. Right now, though, all I have other than that is I'm just in my AMD short. And you know, if it would get out of it like this 5 penny range, that'd be really nice. But for now, I'm gonna try to be patient, try to pack my patience. It's something I'm still working on. That's the main look I have right now. How's CleanSpark? How's everything going over here?
Great. I mean, nothing. I don't have a trade on CleanSpark. Obviously, sad that we did get long that 13.35, but that's all right. Looking for the next trade. So far, we have been in Apple, we've been in INBS, SMCI, and the Future. I don't really see anything right now that's really pressing for a long. I do see lower highs and a flat bottom on Apple. So I may be interested in an Apple short if the Future rejects off this level. And here's what I'm talking about. So clearly we have that pop up that we couldn't really explain on Apple into 190. We came back down to VWAP, held VWAP, made a lower high at 189 2/3, and right back down we go into VWAP on AAPL, lower high, flat bottom. If the Future rejects 18,000, I definitely will be interested on a short on Apple to take it possibly into 188.10. Number one, 188.10 is yesterday's closing print, so that's a support level. Number two, the low on the day is 188 exactly. So the fact that that is the low of day and the closing print from yesterday makes it an awfully attractive price target for me if I'm taking this short. And that'll provide me about $1 worth of opportunity, because if we get that flat bottom break through VWAP, well, VWAP is at 189, 13, 15, somewhere around there. So I would typically probably go short 189 on the break of 189 to ensure that the whole dollar level did break. So if I'm holding it through that, then I've got to 188, 188.10. So that provides, you know, a dollar winner, which is ample amount on Apple. Apple's not really that kind of parabolic mover like the Nvidias, like the Metas. So a dollar on Apple's plenty, you know, especially on a day like this. So I'm going to keep my eye on Apple. I'm definitely interested in the short on this name. It's the weaker of the bunch. One of the weak ones. Meta obviously being the weakest of the bunch. On the other side of that coin, we can talk about the strongest of the bunch, and that definitely goes to Nvidia and to Amazon, who are both high a day right now. 174.50 Amazon right now. It is at high a day, and you saw what Nvidia did just a moment ago. It broke through 720 and got to 720 and a third. And it's right back at 719 after dipping into 718. So we got a bit of a hammer candle forming here on the 5-minute chart, showing that the bulls really are in control of this name. Now, I mentioned this earlier, the 20-period moving average, or the exponential moving average, seems to be that key area of support today on Nvidia for whatever reason. Every dip into the 20-period has absolutely held up. Not so much the 10, but definitely the 20. So gauge what is important to that particular instrument on that particular day and try to use it to your advantage. And I definitely say the 20-period presenting you with opportunities for the long today on Nvidia. So yeah, look for that. Google, I should mention this, just broke 149 after trying to break through 149.50. It's on its way down a bit. It had been putting in you know, some topping tail candles here that were kind of indicative of the impending rollover. So the topping tail candles, usually you see those when there's aggressive profit taking or aggressive shorting, typically at a key level. This really wasn't a key level, 149 and a quarter, wherever that was, 149 and a third. Not where I would have anticipated the shorts to be. I thought definitely they would have been waiting for 150, given that we got to 149 and a half. So Google on the way down, possible area of support is going to be that 148.50. That's where we kind of based out. Or then you're looking at VWAP after that, 148.13, 148.10 on my chart at the moment. The future coming back down, and Jay Lee was trying to entice me into getting some the future short with him, saying essentially that he believes the Fed speak is having a bit of a downward pressure on the market right now. We'll have to wait and see, Jay. I mean, we really haven't decidedly broken through that 10-period moving average on the future. Not that I really often use moving averages on the futures, but at least there's something with which to use a standard at the moment. So we'll keep an eye on the NQ. We'll keep an eye on all these names for you. Just quickly here, looking at some of the small cap gappers that we had on the day. INBS is now below 10 bucks. But still putting in higher lows. I mean, look at that dip trade here into INBS. It still hasn't given up the ghost at that 8 1/3, 850 area, at that 950 area right now. CLSK holding above 14, doing a bit of a consolidation move right now after that monster move up, ranging in between 1410 and 1460 right now. CLSK, CleanSpark reported earnings yesterday. It's a mining name, guys. SMCI. This is the one we hit big to start the show. This one was putting sequentially lower highs. That trend has now broken, and it has double bottomed off that 50 period. So for whatever reason, the SMCI likes the 50 period on the day. It's incumbent upon you to figure out what the specific instrument is respecting on that day. It's not going to be the same day in, day out. But here we go into 740. This is the area that we earmarked last time as a possible area of resistance on super microcomputer. We're basically accumulating at 740 right now. If we get a decided break of 740, we could squeeze into the high of day, which is 745. That'll give you a $5 winner. Super microcomputer up again, almost 6%, 5.87. What a look.
Yeah, that's such a look. And again, congrats on that trade on that earlier, because SMCI is a bit of a slippery little fellow to day trade. So nice job on that. Congrats. And I know also it's interesting taking that today, because I know we were talking about pairs trading, and I think NVIDIA certainly a sympathy play with a lot of those. So very fun and fascinating times. I'm currently on the SPY, which has a range of about 5 cents. We're basically at my point of entry. If we can take this into 580, I'd be pleased as punch, about a 15-cent move. I like the scalps. I like taking, advantage of these little micro movements. We're dancing with this 9 EMA. If we break decisively below that 550-ish area, 545, we're going to say sayonara. We're going to be outie. But also, I have some positive things to report with regards to the AMD trade as well. Thank you to Rock Doc for the support there in the chat. We have 2 of 3 beak wetters, profit takers, what have you, on this name. Saving a piece for the dream here around that 172 area, because that was certainly an area earlier. That was where VWAP was. If we can't break below VWAP, I'm more than happy to just take everything out at that 172.20. That's fine with me. But for now, I'm going to hold on to this because it hasn't really given me a reason not to yet. But I am, the longer we can hold this 172.30, the more tense I'm going to be here. Also, I want to put this out here. There was Sean in the chat here saying, ask us in the afternoon show what names Neil and I have traded today, and if we are green or red on those specific names, we can run them down. So just something to keep in mind there for you guys. I can say for myself, because I love the accountability. It's, always trying to be honest here. Currently, we're green AMD. That could change because we're still in AMD. Tesla was exactly flat. Like I said, we fat fingered that exactly where we entered. IWM positive. I did not even realize I was positive IWM. Go IWM. Positive IWM, negative Apple, and right now positive SPY, but again, still in it. So those are my trades that I appreciate. I think that's a really good way of doing it. I love how Neil and Sean always telling you the real deal with Neil and Sean there on the afternoon and morning show. Right now, AMD is making me question my life choices. Just go. No, it's fine. I'm joking. We're just we only have a third of this position left, but I literally might have to just consider taking the rest out at this 172.30 because I'd rather have a smaller beak wetter than no beak wetters at all. We're changing our point of exit on this one. SPY still chop and churning. Nothing new to report there. Meta getting interesting though. Whew. Meta coming back into this area, and then also where we have this inability to break forward is also where we had that support earlier. If we reject here, I might take the short just that 468.40 because that's also where we had earlier support. So this actually might be a real trade for me. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on this. Lots of going on, lots of things to juggle right now as we head to the end of the show. But yeah, this has been trying to do some new trades. Very eventful show. We had Obi on today. Good times?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again for Obi for coming on, letting us know how he does his earnings trade. Again, a work in progress. If you missed Obi, just rewind back to around 12:10, 12:15. He came on there and was right after Neil's real deal. Let's talk a little bit about what Fed Bostic was saying there. He was on the radio there in Atlanta. And he was saying essentially that he remains laser focused on that 2% target. A lot of talk has been made about whether the Fed was going to give up its 2% target for inflation. And well, Canada, essentially what we do is we have plus or minus 1% from 2%. So 1% inflation up to 3%, we kind of accept that. That's the Bank of Canada stance. That hasn't been the Fed stance. They've actually been fixated on that 2%. So a lot's been made about whether they're going to give that up. No. So according to him, the Fed is laser focused on that. He says, I'm really grateful that it has made good progress getting us back down to 2% target, but there's still a ways to go. He said in an interview with WABE Radio in Atlanta, during which he did not comment on when he feels an interest rate cut might be appropriate. But, that's all right. That's nothing really that's going to move markets. Typically what moves markets is predictions about how many rate cuts we get on the year, when the rate cuts start, and how they project inflation to be going forward. So, we'll wait and see whether that has a market effect. I was keeping an eye here on the futures, and then it was this candle that kind of worried me a little bit. This hammer candle here wasn't actually a hammer candle. It was a bit of a doji candle, a bit of a candle of indecision, and then it ended up closing a little bit better. And here comes the subsequent candle making a new high. So we're looking at moving into that 45 level again where I got out initially. So the market not giving up the ghost at the moment. I'm talking about the NQ. Looks like we're going to come into that close to that 1%. The NQ is outperforming the ES on the day, 0.97 for the NQ, 0.43 for the ES, and the Dow continues to be the laggard, up 0.2%, as some of the Dow components really haven't had that momentum as of late. The Russell, though, the winner today, up almost 1.5%, but still, just actually reclaimed that 2,000-point level for the first time in a little bit on the Russell. So, we talked a lot about that towards the end of last year, about whether there was going to be rotation outside of the large caps and the mega caps into some of these small caps, which really underperformed in 2023. We got a little bit of a hiatus of that so far this year. It really hasn't been the Russell's year yet. Could that change? Well, we're above 2,000 now, so that's at least a start. We'll keep tabs on the Russell. Now, with respect to some of these small cappers, Brendo told you about SoundHound this morning. It's definitely near high days, holding that VWAP ever so nicely. This one getting a pump for whatever reason. I don't know if this was a earnings play or whatever, but 228 was the high. We're at 2.25 right now on SOUN, but it's really been all about one small cap gapper on the day, and that's INBS. Well above VWAP at the moment, been fighting with that $9 level. It's been holding $9 quite nicely, but the parabolic movement that we had on INBS initially here at the start of the show has really dissipated, and the volume has also been a declining asset there. Have a look at the lower highs there on the volume. So with these small cap gappers, no volume, no love. So you're definitely gonna need volume for this bad boy to go up. So keep your eye on that. We got 1 minute left on the show, so I'll send it to Adair.
Yeah, I like the no volume, no love. I think that's a good point here. I was at one point in 3 trades at once. I was shaking in my boots just now, but it's okay. Meta short took out part of the position. AMD out at 172.30. The SPY, I got about 10 cents in that. I'm happy. I think also, you know what I just realized? Do you think part of, because I know you said you're hesitant to go long one Meg 7 and short another. Do you think that's partially because you trade the futures a lot, and so the futures kind of always move all together? Or?
That's a really good question, and that's basically my own psychology of having watched the futures and the Meg 7 move in lockstep together for 2 years. Now they're not so much. The Meg 7 are moving independently, and that's what's normal, right? For them to actually move independent of one another, but that hasn't been my experience so far, so it's still tough to change.
Yeah, no, I just thought that was cool. That's just why I wanted to ask that, because I realized I know we were talking about, long and short the futures, and thank you for asking that question. But for now, we're going to have to hold our questions until next week, where we have more how to trade. So we'll see you same bat time and same bat channel.
We should probably let everyone know we are doing accumulation and distribution next week. Much sought after topic. Make sure to tune in.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, we'll see you next week. Accumulation, distribution, same bat time, same bat channel. Brendo's at the big desk.